My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only, and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. All right, bathroom monitoring is underway at Starbucks. A sex offender, 6EBV926, stalking with activity and doing it pursuant to what is my vagina that is exposed while I'm in a private space engaged in private activity. License 9BSD645, 8UQJ918. License 6HOJ821. License. And this is Starbucks. It's located at 507 North Euclid Avenue. Documentation of the fake sun remaining for 12 hours. 7KO048. And license 5DNX602. This is relevant positioning the entity. And that's, again, it's far more people than that. I'm documenting what a human being can do practically when you are being targeted by an entire entity. And that's to hold as many people specifically accountable. Like I'm embarrassing as many people by name identification in addition to prosecuting the state. My prosecution is not limited to the few thousands of people that I've documented, because I've documented thousands of people. It's not limited to that. You're witnessing me expose the pattern of conduct as I document the entity, encountering them, engaging in the elements of monitoring. on a consistent basis, which is impossible that I would be able to capture that. And it's impossible that a population would mimic the same exact pattern of conduct. And it's also impossible that the sun causes light to shoot through buildings, that it causes light to scrape across sidewalks and across buildings, and that the sun sits over a building, that the sun remains over a person to the exclusion of everyone else while they go scatter about, but it remains over me like I document. That's all impossible. 9HJM184, P.O.C. Bathroom monitoring. And she's crossing path as I walk into the entrance. That's how obsessive they are with monitoring. All right, documentation of overnight stalking conduct by the Ontario Police Department acting directly. This is all criminal conduct of the Ontario Police Department acting vicariously. It's the Ontario Police that are monitoring my vagina, keeping my vagina under surveillance is literally what that is, while I am being targeted in the bathroom. That's a sex offense committed by that police department as the people of the state are engaging in that pattern of conduct in concert with the government, on behalf of the government. And it's an illegitimate and predatory and sexually motivated and perverted and demented pattern of conduct. It's a sex offense. And the Ontario Police is engaging in it while I document that. The entity is gang stalking overnight, the entirety of the night, but documenting what is helicopter activity. The entity is flying over me for the 4th time overnight while I'm sleeping. And these are demons, so when you're in the sleep state, you're in an unconscious state, and you're having dreams, you are subject to what is spiritual attacks. Like the entity has sought to attack me, the entity is not able to overwhelm me with these attacks. Like they're witchcraft, all of these attacks, it's not working on me. And I'm also reporting the reality of what Satan does to attack people that succumb to it, unfortunately, and are also ignorant about what is the cause and what's going on. So the entity is spiritually attacking me, and these are literally, when I say that they're demons, that's what I mean. They're demons when they're engaged in the pattern of conduct and they're in that environment. But you also need to know that the Ontario Police Department, these are demon-possessed individuals that are spiritually attacking me as well. They are monitoring me in the sleep state, and they engage in what is using helicopter activity. They use plane activity as well. They use amplified audible activity of the people of the state. They use impossible light as well. But I'm specifically talking about the Ontario Police using helicopter activity. And this is what they do overnight while I'm sleeping at the TABOR Professional Building, where all of the entity knows who I am and where I'm located. And the specific environment is what proves and establishes that. And the stalking behavior by the entity is what proves that. The entity is engaging in what is stalking by helicopter by flying over me while I'm in the dream state, in the sleep state overnight, and that's flying over me for the 4th time. I documented it 3 times before I went to sleep. They're flying over me on video twice and flying over my head, and then flying over me again while I go to the TABOR Professional Building, and they fly over my head again for the 3rd time. Overnight while I'm sleeping, they fly over me in the middle of the night while I'm sleeping. And doing so, and I just went back to sleep. But I'm documenting the entity engaging in that, and they're engaging in that terrorism in concert with the people of the state. They're pacing on G Street while the entity flies over my head, terrorizing and stalking and monitoring me, and using a helicopter to do it in that psychopathic manner. And the people of the state are sharing in that, holding hands in that terrorism together in the middle of the night, stalking me with helicopters in concert with the people of the state. It is Saturday, June 21st, 2025, by the way. It is currently 6:18 a.m. The pattern of conduct remains underway at Starbucks located at 507 North Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California. This is P.O.C. All right, the video you just listened to includes the people of the state engaging in the exact same pattern of conduct that I'm documenting on a daily basis. This is the pattern of conduct that remains ceaselessly underway, while the entity is simultaneously engaging in criminal surveillance of the one who is documenting it and prosecuting, and also providing this evidence with regard to diagnosing the gang stalkers and also as well as prosecuting them. The Ontario Police Department enters into the venue, sharing in the criminal pattern of conduct directly with the intent to communicate a threat. And this is also relevant regarding, it's always focusing on what I'm doing as I do it with regard to criminal real-time surveillance, in the same way that they are in the specific environment as I document a license plate and the demons of the Ontario Police drive by, or the demons of the Ontario Police fly in circles over this cafe, where these fools are on camera, where I'm documenting Raquel, Brian, Saul, that's federal prison, while they're and Amelia is here. They're engaging in what is gang stalking. Gang stalking is the furtherance of murder and kidnapping, threatening my liberty, my safety, my life, and my well-being, while the entity is gang stalking together under the guise of the corrupt business of Starbucks, and doing so in the same specific environment that is filled with the engineered light, proving that the entity knows exactly who I am. They're stalking. Keeping under the entity the documentation showing the maintenance of the fake sun, where all of the city of Ontario's gang stalking, proving knowledge of my identity. Strangers are not in fact strangers in the specific environment. They're gang stalking together at Starbucks, where the evidence is already existing and showing that. And the entity is, again, with regard to the psychopathic mind state, that's the sick mind that engages in more of the conduct that is openly incriminating. There's no mystery about gang stalking by the people of the state, the city of Ontario, the police department, the Ontario International Airport, flying over this cafe, flying beside this cafe, keeping a fake sun over me while I'm documenting the Ontario Police Department, the very kidnappers, as I document them coming into the cafe. All of this is an unlawful threat by not only someone that is stalking you, doing so in the manners that the Ontario Police, that the City of Ontario, that the people of the state have, but this is a government that's stalking and communicating a threat by coming into the venue and engaging in that, and none of it is lawful. It's pursuant to criminal surveillance as you are legally analyzing the crime of federal group stalking and monitoring, and it is a pathetic show, and that pathetic show is equaling federal prison. Raquel is engaging in what is communicating a threat, engaging in psychological torture, while the entity engages in tactics such as following you around, the police remaining present, always in your line of vision, while addressing other people, such as criminal summoning, which is a tactic of psychological torture where the entity is keeping you under surveillance, gang stalking you. The entity is doing engaging in an analogous tactic by coming into the cafe in the specific environment where the people of the state are demons, psychopaths, gang stalking all day long, engaging in surveillance in a cafe, engaging in surveillance in the bathroom. And what you'll pay attention to in the video as well, this overweight Latino male representing the entire department that's gang stalking me, and doing so on video like I documented again last night, and sharing it in real time with the people of the state at the cafe. He walks into the bathroom and he walks right out. He's pacing. The entity, even when you're going in and actually relieving yourself, all they're doing is monitoring. When they're doing it, when you see the engineered light on the ground, you see the fake sun remaining in alignment to me, you see the fake sun that remains after they leave and it remains over me, you see the fake sun remain over me as I go to the OVITT Family Community Library, and that's where the fake sun sets. You see the Ontario Police Department flying in circles over this cafe where the people of the state engage in that pattern of conduct. So you're understanding, first of all, what is psychopathic. He is on camera representing the department, gang stalking with the people that you hear creating activity in the background. They're on cameras, gang stalking with the police, exhibiting mental illness. This is a psychopathic antisocial disorder where they're targeting an American citizen and they're outwardly conducting themselves as though they are normal, as though they're sane, as though they're healthy people engaging in lawful and private activity. And none of that is the truth. The specific environment demonstrates that. And not only that, the entity is doing so with regard to their fear of what it is that I've exposed. And as you are also observing about psychopaths who are demon possessed, when Satan is fearful, Satan engages in more criminal conduct, more harmful behaviors that are inflicting harms to other people. And this is what you see the entity engaging in inside of Starbucks, gang stalking with the police who represent an unlawful threat that Starbucks is communicating. Starbucks is engaging in and waging that threat. Every third party that is representing the entity individually is posing together. And it includes Brian, it includes Raquel, Amelia, the entity that is working in the venue, communicating a threat in the wealth of documentation of, for example, Raquel being under the fake sun in the morning and being under the fake sun at 4:52, where she's gang stalking with the people of the state who are driving by the cafe. An engineer light is molesting my person, threatening me while the entity is monitoring with regard to this impossible light, the tornadoes of light inside of this venue. And none of that evidence is forgotten when you're hearing a bunch of psychopaths laughing in the background, greeting and cheering over beverages that they're buying from the gang stalkers preparing them. And the entity enters in through the gang stalking department of the Ontario Police with the intent and knowledge of what it is that I just published on the internet, while all these demons are being prosecuted together. This is, again, the entity that is engaging in what is an already lost endeavor. They're fully exposed, and secondly, they are also, spiritually speaking, these are demons that all lost together, and demons who are going to face federal prison are more obsessed with me and more obsessed with their delusions than the reality of what are the repercussions of their criminal conduct, all right? They're not just demons engaging in witchcraft that nobody sees, they're engaged in criminal activity, and that is relevant to what the Ontario Police Department is doing, entering into the cafe while the people of the state are preparing the drinks, gang stalking. The establishment is going to be prosecuted for stalking, and the establishment is going to be prosecuted for what is communicating an unlawful threat. When you are not only prosecuting, but with regard to the legal analysis, as you would under any circumstances and in case of stalking, the entity is going to be prosecuted for the ways in which the entity is threatening, the ways in which the entity is engaging in that stalking behavior, and doing so through psychopaths that are in the cafe, engaging in that same behavioral pattern, in the same specific environment. The fake sun remains over the venue, and they're gathered in the venue monitoring, okay? They're focused on using conversation and presence the moment that they go get their drinks. The way that the rhythm and timing that they prepare, everything that these demons are doing is centered on me, and they merely had the Ontario police enter in to engage in gang stalking me and my face, and that is supposed to get, again, psychopathic, delusional, and missing the big point with regard to a prosecution, a disbanding of a police and federal prison for that gang stalking police officer who was inside of the venue communicating a lawful threat and doing it on video, published to the world in concert with the people who are also going to be prosecuted for that. This is a threat communicated by the entity together. Okay? It is currently 10:19 a.m. I want to make sure that you have context regarding what the futile acts of the demon-possessed who are defeated and the psychopathic behaviors of the gang stalkers who are engaging in that psychopathic behavioral pattern in the specific environment. The LAPD is engaging in the same P.O.C. Remember, the entity is keeping the fake sun while the Ontario police enter inside of the venue. The entity engaging what is covering up the fake sun at any point in the day, and at any point where it is again shining, you're looking at it, it's over me. While the demon possessed that are inside of the cafe preparing drinks, coming in and purchasing drinks, coming in engaging in surveillance inside of the venue, that fake sun remains over me in the venue. And that's how I've also documented the variations of where the fake sun is remaining on Euclid Avenue, by the way, within 0.4 miles. A 4-minute walk down the street, and then you're going to take a look again at these demons that are inside of the cafe, having a good time while they're gang stalking an American citizen. That's why the evidence is going to be used to both diagnose and prosecute. All right, it is currently 10:20 a.m. This is P.O.C. This is with regard to the entity that is hostile to the evidence that's published online, because they are all engaged in what is federal stalking. All right, the people of the state that are gang stalking are doing so pursuant to that same exact pattern of conduct shared with the government, and they are in the shoes of the government. All right, so they're not acting as private citizens, and the entity's podcast, which is being published with simultaneity in the same way when I'm documenting, for example, Alan D. WAPNER, and the entity flies over my head by helicopter like I documented on the night of June 19, 2025 at the TABOR Professional Building. The people of the state are engaged in real-time ongoing CEASELESS surveillance, and so is the gang stalking police department that walked into this cafe, and he is going to federal prison like every other gang stalking officer that is threatening the life of an American citizen, where they at any whim engage in what is unlawful behavior that the people of the state are vouching for, bearing false witness about, and communicating a threat together while your life is put in harm's way. Your life is put in the balance while the entity is gang stalking through corrupt police departments like the Ontario Police. While they're flying over my head repeatedly by helicopter, the people of the state are sharing in that unlawful threat together while you hear them conversing in the background, while you hear them purchasing, this is criminal presence and criminal activity creation by psychopaths, and they're all monitoring my vagina. So that's what they're actually focused on, and you're witnessing mental illness while they engage in that psychopathic, antisocial behavioral, and that's a pattern of conduct. Okay, so I want to be clear on that. It doesn't have a race. It doesn't have an age. It doesn't have a socioeconomic bracket. You're looking at that shared mental illness by the demon possessed, all right? And that is shared condition with the Ontario Police Department and the people of the state. That's merely the state acting directly and the state acting vicariously, all right? So this is P.O.C. It's 507 North Euclid Avenue. I want to be clear, the video is speaking to the criminal pattern of conduct. It's psychological torture by the entity that is hostile to evidence, which is highly probative. The Ontario Police is gang stalking me, and gang stalking me with the people of the state who share that mental illness based on demon possession, the same condition where there are demons in that environment. The entity keeps the fake sun over the cafe for 11 hours one day, and I publish it on the internet, and the next day the entity covers up the fake sun as though the evidence is going to be forgotten, removed from the record, as though there's a restart or something, or as though that it did not occur. These are the delusional demons that are going to be prosecuted for that. The entity is keeping the specific environment pursuant to criminal summoning, and it's in conformity to a well-documented pattern of conduct that LAPD in Los Angeles at Alvarado Garden shares, while the people of the state are gang stalking at an apartment complex where I live and remain and worked. The entity is doing so with regard to the multiple counties in California where you're hearing the evidence of mental illness. You're looking at the evidence of mental illness. You're looking at what is a diabolical level of malice, where this public corruption is what you're witnessing inside of Starbucks, and that is the unprecedented basis of prosecuting that population. So the people of the state whose addresses I documented, for example, on June 20, 2025, that's 148 Bonita Court. They're gang stalking in the same way that you see the psychopaths inside a cafe. They're gang stalking and they're communicating a threat with the Ontario Police. As I publish that information, and Ontario Police walks in. The people of the state at third party facilitating venue, 525. Let me go ahead and get these addresses, because this is the people of the state that are gang stalking, and the entity is continuously engaging in that pattern. And what you will recognize, the people of the state that are inside of this Starbucks gang stalking me right now, this is what they're doing in their homes while the fake sun remains over me, while the Ontario Police fly over my head in helicopter, engage in criminal summoning, monitoring together, and doing so where they live. So let me remind you about the addresses. This is the same community, the same group of demons, the same psychopaths, the same maniacs that are engaging in the P.O.C. with the police, and doing so while I document their addresses, the community that's engaging in that criminal surveillance, which is sexually perverted and mentally demented, all right? So let me remind you about these addresses, because this is what the entity is focused on, and so we're gonna focus on those addresses, since the entity is engaging in that ongoing pattern of more threatening behavior, more psychopathic behavior, which is an unlawful threat that you're going to be prosecuted for as you document it. Okay, the timing of this demon on the present on the in the inside of the cafe is directly relevant to what I'm publishing on the internet, and it is relevant to the podcast. So let me go ahead and document this right now. The address includes 148 Bonita Court. That's Ontario Police. That's in Ontario, California. The entity is gang stalking with the people of the state at their venue. I documented this on the podcast last night. And in addition to that, facilitating venue, it's not just that address, it's everybody around in relevant position. But I documented that particular address because the entity is gang stalking. They're molesting with light, and then they get out of their vehicle and they walk right into their home while they're gang stalking with their underage children as well. This is relevant to, again, the entity that's gang stalking and contributing to the delinquency of minors. Sharing in that pattern of conduct with the psychopaths that are inside of the cafe gang stalking. So this is everything that I documented last night, and the people of the state that I'm documenting are also a part of that pattern of conduct because of surveillance that's underway online. So as I document and publish what I documented, for example, about the people of the state onto the internet, the entity is engaged in real-time criminal activity, communicating a threat. You document the stalker engages in more criminal monitoring with the intent to harass, obstruct justice, threaten you, intimidate you, and that's exactly what is the purpose of gang stalking through the police who enter into the venue, pacing just like the demons who are the people of the state, in the same exact cafe, the same address, in the same specific environment, with the same real-time knowledge, okay, of what's being documented. And that's what's relevant while the Ontario Police enters the venue. And it's the analogous to flying over my head in a helicopter as I engage in documentation. That's the whole purpose, and that's exactly what this demon is engaging in of the Ontario Police that is going to be disbanded. But let me go ahead and reiterate the people of the state by address who are engaging in that unlawful threat in concert with the Ontario Police and the people of the state. This is one entity threatening together, and it's directly relevant. The people of the state at third-party facilitating venue, the Ontario Village Shopping Center, which I documented at Stater Brothers last night. I went to the laundromat, and the entity is engaged in criminal monitoring. The multiple shadows is the specific environment, and that speaks to, again, everybody around you knows who you are, you're being targeted, and that supernatural environment where you're standing under a light, and you have 4 shadows on the ground, and you have an upright shadow, and then you're going to look at the behavior of the people of the state that are supposed to create the appearance of anonymity and supposed to falsely depict the character of the target individual, and this is an outright failure of that. The entity is appearing as the psychopaths, the mentally ill population that is targeting American citizens that they actually are. And this projection of mental illness is not only illogical, it's not the way that you are engaging in diagnosis. Only a corrupt entity is using this system as a means of diagnosing mental illness. And that's also relevant because it is not how mental illness is actually diagnosed, as I'm showing how the entity is engaged in criminal monitoring, gang stalking, exhibiting severe mental illness in doing so, and then projecting their mental illness, their psychopathic tendencies onto the targeted individual, who is under no circumstances, as I've also shown, suffering any hallucinations or abandoning the pattern of conduct that they're subject to. But the people of the state that are being documented who are communicating a threat in concert with Starbucks, in concert with Starbucks employees, in concert with the people of the state at the venue on video, as this demon comes in to order a drink, to share in the criminal elements of monitoring, and communicating an unlawful threat with the intent to obstruct justice, to retaliate. As I publish this information about the people of the state that I'm going to repeat on this podcast, this is relevant to the prosecution of that entity. Third-party facilitating venue, The people of the state at 701 West B Street in Ontario, California, they are gang stalking by creating audible activity while I'm walking out of the laundry room at the Ontario Village Shopping Center last night. And understand, when I'm documenting one address, this is the same entity. These demons that are inside of the cafe, they're engaged in the same criminal system, and the malice that they're exhibiting, conversing like nothing is happening, engaging and getting louder in their conversation, more people coming in. It's activity creation pursuant to monitoring me. They do the same thing when the fake sun is shining, when they're sitting in engineered light, when lights of tornadoes of light are swimming all over the walls and the ceilings, and that's exactly what they're engaging in when the entity is engaged in the same P.O.C. The engineered light remains a gray color. It's the same specific environment in concert with the same entity that's stalking by planes inside of this venue when they're engaging in conversation and buying beverages from the third-party gang stalker Starbucks. This is malice that I'm describing, in other words, and the people of the state that use their homes, I will document them, and they are communicating a threat in the same way that all these psychopaths inside of the cafe are gang stalking with the police. The address is, again, third-party facilitating venue, which is communicating a threat with this entity monitoring me as I document them. This is the address of 701 West B Street in Ontario, California, 91762. The third-party facilitating venue located at 538 West Vesta Street in Ontario, California, 91762. This apartment complex engaging in what is gang stalking with impossible light, the same impossible light that's inside of this venue where demons gather, sit around, engaging in surveilling me, stalking with the Ontario Police, the City of Ontario, that are all pacing like psychopaths while they maintain conversation, and that is under no circumstance no distraction from diagnosing their mental illness while they're gang stalking. And they're violent sex offenders. Don't forget that they're all monitoring my vagina as well, while they do so by laughing and buying drinks and conversing with one another like the sex offenders that they are, who are maniacal psychopaths. Again, this address is the people of the state at 538 West Vesta, Ontario, California, 91762. The people at that entire apartment building at 544 West Vesta Street, Ontario, California, 91762. The same pattern of conduct when I'm walking from the OVITT Family Community Library that had a fake sun remaining over that library from 10:38 a.m. until 6 p.m. and I captured it at 6:22 p.m., which was at the exact same time that I'm in Los Angeles on June 20th, 2025, which I was comparing what LAPD is doing and what the City of Ontario, these demons gang stalking inside of the Starbucks are doing under an entire fake sun. You're never isolating and looking at the evidence in a vacuum. They cover up the fake sun in the morning, and then they're engaging with a stalking with the police, which is putting every single last one of these psychopaths in prison. And you're remembering what it is that I'm documenting, where a fake sun remains over one building from 10:30 in the morning until 6:22 in the evening. This is the environment where demons are buying coffee at Starbucks, where they're engaging in conversation, which is audible activity, when they're pacing back and forth to pick up their drinks and go to the bathroom, which is relevant positioning, psychopathic behavior, walking in and out of the bathroom, just like that demon of the Ontario Police Department. That's all that they're doing inside of Starbucks, which is facilitating that environment for gang stalking. I want to be clear on that. This is the environment that is maintained while I am walking from the OVITT Family Community Library, where I'm showing the fake sun at 6:22 p.m. And I'm also juxtaposing that with the fake sun that's in alignment to my bedroom window on the same day at the same time in Los Angeles, where it is engaged in the same corruption that the City of Ontario is, which is the state of California. And as I publish this information, again, this is what's informing the psychopathic behaviors of the people of the state, communicating, again, a failed effort at what is accomplishing anything other than federal prison, enhancement to federal prison terms, and diagnosing mental illness while you're witnessing the malice of a demon-possessed population that's gang stalking. This is the same demons where you see their face. These are the ones that are driving by the venue, and impossible light, like I stated, flies inside of the venue while they know exactly who I am, and they're stalking while they're doing so, stalking with impossible light activity. This is the same population. So as I document, again, 538 West Vesta, Ontario, that entire property that's an apartment building, they're gang stalking while I'm being accosted with impossible light. I'm being terrorized with impossible light, just like what happens and what I document on video, what sits on the record, and what remains relevant when you're seeing the demon-possessed gang stalking me this morning with the Ontario Police, impossible light activity. The same is happening at third-party facilitating venue 544 West Vesta Street in Ontario, California. And you will see this in the description box for the podcast of June 20th, 2025. And as I update this information, Ontario Police enter inside of the venue, pursuant to federal stalking that all of the people inside of this cafe are engaged in, including Starbucks employees who are providing the drink to Starbucks and gang stalking at the same time. The elements of monitoring remain underway in a specific environment, which Starbucks has already established and surrounded with that evidence, not just in 2025, not just today and yesterday, but since 2020. I've been documenting this specific venue, but the Starbucks, the corporation, has been documented since 2019, and every single Starbucks is engaging engaging in the pattern of conduct, which is documentation of that corporation. And this unlawful threat that I'm documenting today is going toward the prosecution, civil and criminal, of this entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct with the police, with the City of Ontario, with the intent to obstruct justice. That's an unlawful threat which you shall not avoid prosecution for when you are exposing, blowing the whistle to the federal government, and the federal government is watching all these psychopaths gang stalk and the methods that they employ to do so. The simultaneity of the entrance of this gang stalker, the Ontario Police, the wealth of evidence of over 60 videos since the kidnapping on June 3rd ended, using helicopters and gang stalking under the fake sun, doing so at night on a nightly basis where this very population is stalking me, where they all know where I'm sleeping, flying over me by planes and helicopters where there's no Terminal 2 or Terminal 4, when they're hovering over the residences where the people of the state are gang stalking where it is that I'm remaining, and they're doing so. All of that pattern of conduct is underway inside of the Starbucks where they are on video communicating that threat together while they're engaged in federal stalking. This is the asininity, this is the futility, this is the short-minded mind state of psycho. It's relevant to the mental illness. The entity is more obsessed with me and this delusion of there's no competition between demons who are all engaged in gang stalking. And by the way, there's no competition when you're going to federal prison. I have your identity, and not only that, the entity is subject to what is being surrounded with evidence, and the entity is also going to produce its records with regard to what it's doing while it's gang stalking during the course of the workday in the Starbucks cafe. And doing so with the Ontario Police Department with the intent to communicate an unlawful threat while they are in real-time monitoring as I document the people of the state by residents who are engaged in that pattern of conduct as I walk through the community, and the community is gang stalking, sharing and stalking with impossible light, sharing and stalking with relevant positioning, and they're all engaged in that P.O.C. because the entity is engaged in what is criminal monitoring through the people of the state where they live. That's what Woodside Senior Apartments is engaged in. What do you think these old people sitting in front of me live at? They live in senior citizen complexes that are gang stalking. That's exactly what the entity is doing at the 280 North Lemon Apartments. That's exactly what the entity is doing at Woodside Senior Apartments. And these old people walk in gang stalking at Starbucks. The elder population are not exempted. They are a malicious form of the same exact P.O.C. Coming into the Starbucks gang stalking on video is a foolish iteration of that P.O.C. showing that the entity is gang stalking across all lines: age, race, and socioeconomic status, not license plate, but address. So as I'm documenting, again, 538 West Vesta Street, also 544 West Vesta Street in Ontario, California, and 552 West Vesta Street in Ontario, California, zip code 91762. And again, this is at 148 North Bonita Court in Ontario, California. This is as I'm walking to and from the OVITT Family Community Library, where my documentation shows the fake sun at the same time through my bedroom window. Very exclusive sky space at the same time, 6:22 p.m., where this community that you see inside of Starbucks is gang stalking and exhibiting mental illness. This is the malice where they're supposed to appear and they don't appear normal in a cafe where the evidence of the P.O.C. remains underway. From 6:33 a.m., where California Highway Patrol is gang stalking, to 7:26 p.m., where literally the employees of Starbucks are gang stalking, showing their condition and their severe mental illness while they prepare the drinks for the gang stalking patrons to purchase, while they're all stalking in the path, they're all stalking with light, and they're all stalking with audible activity. Psychopathic behavior in and of itself. But they're doing so while I am documenting the people of the state. And I want to again repeat those addresses. The people of the state gang stalking by residents at 148 North Bonita Court in Ontario, California. The people of the state gang stalking at 552 West Vesta Street in Ontario, California. The people of the state gang stalking by residents at 544 West Vesta Street in Ontario, California. The people of the state gang stalking at 538 West Vesta Street, 701 West B Street in Ontario, California. And the facilitating venues, the commercial venues such as Starbucks is documented at 507 of Euclid, where you're looking at and you're listening to this iteration, the entity that is engaging what is threatening the federal prosecutor, you're threatening the whistleblower, you're threatening the person that is analyzing your behavior with your diagnosis and your prosecution. This is relevant to that mental illness, the delusional stalker that is, again, engaging in what is openly and plain conduct that is not mysterious, it's not secretive anymore, and it's fully exposed not only to be prosecuted, but on the venue of the internet. And a psychopath sits and engaging in what is outwardly conversing with someone else when everything that I am stating is actually their focus. That's the true mind state of the demons that are gang stalking inside of Starbucks. And it is entirely pathetic. The entity is engaging in this based on what it is that I've documented and published online, so I want to make sure that that's clear. And this is going for the podcast today for June 21st, 2025. You're going to refer to what I'm documenting with regard to the description box of the podcast, as I'm including the addresses of the people of the state. The entity is obsessed with everything that I expose about them and the way in which I describe them, and I describe them accurately. That's why they're gang stalking me as demons, because they know exactly who I am. They know the truth that I speak, and I tell all of their secrets, especially with regard to their obsession with my vagina, all right, while they're monitoring it in the bathroom, pacing all around inside of this cafe where a fake sun remains for 11 hours in the day. You're not doing anything other than stalking in that venue, and they just did it on video with the Ontario Police Department. It is the same exact pattern of conduct that is ceaselessly underway, and the entity is highly unintelligent while it does so, okay? Hostile because they look stupid while I show them things, while I show the world evidence such as the sun remaining over the entrance of the same venue where I'm showing it for 7, 8, 9, 10 hours in the day. You look like a fool, and your mental illness is put on full display while you sought to project your mental sickness on somebody else that you're stalking. That is asininity at its best, at its finest. The entity is appearing as the mentally ill psychopaths that they are, especially while they're gang stalking in places like Starbucks, especially while they're gang stalking as a community, especially while they're gang stalking. And you hear of things that are creating illusions as well amongst the human population, such as racism. And you're looking at a bunch of old white people that are stalking me, a black woman. And this is the reality. This is the true proper context of what's going on. These white people are stalking a black woman. You have them engaging what is taking time out of their day, focusing on me. They're not even focused on actually talking to each other. They're maniacal psychopaths who took time out of their day when they're aware of my evidence to come and partake in being in my presence. And the police go out of their way using helicopters, all of their police resources, stalking me. This is speaking to the reality and the proper context. When you're hearing about illusions such as racism that make people feel like you're lesser than another, it's not based on that. These demons are obsessed with me because they know who I am, and they are also hostile to the truth that I speak about what they are and what they're doing. And no matter how loud they laugh, no matter how profusely they try to continue conversation like they're not focused on me, the fake sun, the impossible light activity, the gang stalking behavior of the entirety of that population, the people of the state, and the entity that's engaged in the P.O.C. and other locations far from Starbucks where the sun remains for 11, 12 hours in the day is the evidence that's demonstrating that proves it, okay? The entity, Satan is a liar. Satan is the father of liars, and so you're going to prosecute the demon-possessed outside of their cooperation. You're going to prosecute based on that specific environment that is proving beyond a reasonable doubt criminal monitoring by the government in concert with the population that's engaging in what is public corruption, which is going to exist in plain view, it's going to exist in plain sight, and it will be unspoken of, and it is relevant to what is mental illness, psychopathic to be specific. All right, it's currently 10:40 a.m. The demon that is representing the Ontario Police Department coming into the venue, he's going to federal prison. And so are the demons on video on June 19, 2025 under the 1108 fake sun. They're going to federal prison. And so is Nathan Morgan, B. Hook, L. Martinez, and C. Torres, who even came into this Starbucks under the 2:47 p.m. fake sun. Remember, the fake sun is over me where Corey Watson is under at 6:33 a.m. This department is surrounded with evidence. And then they come in and conversing like nothing is happening and like everything. But nobody is going to be deceived by what the demon-possessed present. What they're presenting is called malicious. It's malicious, and it's also very highly unintelligent, and it's obvious. It's very obvious. This is what the entity is engaging in. They do nothing other than engage in what is stalking by numbers. As you can clearly see, numbers do not equate to what is wisdom. Numbers do not equate to what is power. Numbers do not equate to what is authority either. They merely engage in what is bullying, and then they lack any actual intellectual ability to make sense of what it is that they've done, to make sense and reconcile what it is that's already on the record, what it is that's already documented, which is what you're going to rely on in any federal case, and especially when you are prosecuting in court with tangible evidence, not relying on the superficial veneer of old white people who are stalking a black woman who's documenting it with regard to what the entire city of Ontario is engaging in, gang stalking, and they're psychopaths that are engaging in throwing light while they know exactly who I am, pursuant to criminal monitoring, presence under an enduring fake sun, which is speaking to identification that they know exactly who I am, stalking as a community, and they're also doing so while they're aiding in what are destroying illusions that are out here in the ways in which the entity seeks to, Satan, in other words, that's what I mean by the entity, seeks to divide people by things like race and economic lines. The entity is gang stalking a black woman right now, like I said, All these old white people are stalking me. They took time out of their day to come stalk me, and that's the reality. All right, so they talk as loud as they want because they're listening to me, and I'm actually the focus. The soul is my vagina, and that truth is what they're embarrassed by, and that's why they talk louder and louder. And they go out of their way to bring in the police department, which I'm not fearful of. I've embarrassed the police department as well. They're being disbanded, and they're embarrassed, and that's why they engage in that. But all they are doing as psychopaths is providing more evidence to prosecute. Every time I document the Ontario police, guess what that is? They're stalking. It's real-time surveillance that they're engaging in. And that police officer is going to federal prison. And the people of the state gang stalking with them, Raquel, Brian, Amelia, engaged in what is a wealth of documentation of systematically monitoring, gang stalking, psychologically harming with the police department. That's federal prison. And the entity is engaging in what is a vacuous, hollow effort. You're not winning anything when the reward is prison. You're not winning anything. You're also not making a statement when it's put on the internet to show the same exact pattern of conduct that you are not rebutting. Especially when you're engaging in what is surveillance and covering up the fake sun, which is already shown. What I documented last week, what I documented the week before, what I documented last year, what I documented today, it is the same pattern of conduct, what I documented yesterday. There is no inconsistency, there is no rebutting, there's no starting over, there's no erasing, and there is also no reconciling what is the evidence that's surrounding the entity. So I want to make sure that that is clear. I wanted to go in on that analysis because the people of the state that are gang stalking, these are the psychopaths that are going to be diagnosed for the actual mentally ill, and the propaganda that's in this country about projecting mental illness onto those that are not even mentally ill whatsoever, which is also what I've documented with regard to the pattern of conduct, where the entity seeks to target American citizens in order to render them illegitimate, to discard them from society. And this society is full of demons that are engaging in monitoring. They're engaged in targeting, and they're violent sex offenders, and they're maniacal psychopaths that are doing things such as targeting, and public corruption is existing at your neighborhood Starbucks. That's what you're looking at. And it is a pathetic show. All right, all of these demons are defeated and they're all embarrassed, and the entity engages in what is more evidence to me as I'm prosecuting the city of Ontario. It is currently 10:44 a.m. This is the entity, and it's relevant to the people of the state, their addresses. You will be prosecuted where you live. You will be prosecuted where you work. You will be prosecuted where you are in relevant position. And you will be prosecuted when you're targeting with the government like Starbucks, and everybody inside of this venue just committed on video, okay? This is P.O.C. You have the entity engaging in what is obsessive pacing in and out of the bathroom with the communication device. The same one, just it's called monitoring, and that's what this psychopath the Ontario police did. He walks in and out of the restroom with regard to monitoring me, and this is exactly what the people of the state is. It's the same demonic spirit, a different vessel. And there are hundreds of them doing that all day long while the entity keeps the fake sun. This embarrassing pattern of conduct that they're engaging in is all over the internet, and the demon-possessed gang stalker, the Ontario police, entered into that venue to engage in pacing around me because I'm the focal point. I'm the one that they're targeting. I'm the one that they cannot overwhelm. I'm the one that they cannot render illegitimate with regard to my evidence. I'm the one that they cannot falsely present as being mentally ill. I'm the one that is exposing them, in other words. I'm the one that's prosecuting them. I'm the one that's letting you know what they are and what's wrong with them. And this is the work of Satan, and these are his demons, and they've all been defeated. And I'm going to prosecute them as well. Not just expose them, not just embarrass them, but prosecute them. The Ontario police is being disbanded. All right, flying over my head by helicopter is very foolish. And coming into this cafe, gang stalking me in my face, very foolish. Being in the presence of a gang stalking police department, very foolish. This is the entity that's being prosecuted. It's 10:45 a.m. and this is P.O.C. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes, and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C., and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state. And it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. This is the same Ontario Police Department, stalking inside of 507 North Euclid Avenue, engaged in Title 18 federal stalking. That's Raquel. You have the entity that's gang stalking, these same employees. Brian is gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department, coming into the venue, pacing with the rest of the demons in the specific environment, communicating a threat, and pacing with the people participating in the gang stalking. This is P.O.C. This is federal prison. And this is the department engaging in the same pattern of conduct that the people of the state are engaging in on behalf of this corrupt department on an ongoing basis. And it's an unlawful threat that they're communicating together. He's going to prison. The Ontario Police is being disbanded. This is P.O.C. That's mental illness exhibited. That's a psychopath. And everybody else in this cafe, where the entity keeps the fake sun over this cafe for 12 hours, and they're walking into the cafe focused on, and they also focus on my vagina when they're monitoring me through the people of the state in the bathroom. And they walk in bearing weapons, gang stalking in the cafe, aware of what it is that I've published on the internet, communicating a threat like psychopaths do, engaging in psychological torture. This third party is going to prison. So is Nathan Morgan. So is C. Torres. So is B. Hook. And L. Martinez are going to federal prison. The entity gang stalking by helicopter, targeting as the department, and is doing so in the same cafe where the entity keeps the fake sun on this same 0.4 mile radius as I remain on Euclid Avenue, and the entity is gang stalking all night long by planes and helicopters. So the city of Ontario enters in through this demon with the Ontario Police, communicating an unlawful threat, and he's going to federal prison. The Ontario Police is being disbanded. This is P.O.C. This is the pathetic work of cowards that are aware that they're being documented. This is their mental illness at work. And the people of the state, they're all gang stalking. They're all engaged in Title 18. This is federal prison for everybody you see right here. This is what the entity is going to learn from. This is the pattern of conduct. It is currently 10:08 a.m. The entirety of the podcast is being published right now. This is the communication of a threat while they're engaged in Title 18 federal stalking. These are psychopaths that engage in the same cycle that I'm publishing on the internet to prosecute and make California an example of what no gang stalking police department is going to engage in, and engage in kidnapping and remain out of federal prison. This is P.O.C. This is all surveillance. This is the same cafe where you see the engineer light flying inside, where you see the demons Brian and Saul gang stalking with Impossible Light, where they open up the drive-through window, where these demons are driving by and Impossible Light's flying inside of the cafe, where the entity keeps the fake sun for 12 hours, where Corey Watson is gang stalking coming in, C. Torres is coming in gang stalking, L. Rodriguez is coming in gang stalking, the entity engaging in criminal summoning under the 11 a.m. fake sun like I documented. This is P.O.C. The Ontario Police is being disbanded. This is, again, Mike Lorenz's engagement and what is the pattern of conduct. That's not law enforcement. This is group stalking. And the Ontario Police is being disbanded. This is pathetic. This is P.O.C. All right, we do have Raquel, Amelia, that are gang stalking with Starbucks, the company that's engaging in threatening gang stalking every day with the police, and then coming in and doing so pursuant to federal stalking. So it's not just the P.O.C. The entity is engaging in it with the intent to threaten as you publish the evidence on the internet, and this is why you're going to prison, in addition to systematically monitoring with the Ontario Police Department, which is a threat to safety, liberty, where the police are engaged in a pattern of kidnapping and lying on what you've done in order to arrest you when you're exercising petitions authority as a gang stalking police department. That's an unlawful threat that Starbucks and Starbucks' employees. Remember, Starbucks is a reference to that civil prosecution. Starbucks employees is a reference to the criminal prosecution. And the companies are also going to be criminally prosecuted. That logo is going to be prosecuted. For criminal conduct that the companies are engaging in, they're profiting from domestic terrorism. The patrons are here engaging in the elements of monitoring intentionally and knowingly. The fake sun remains over the Starbucks logo. That's why I document in the way that I do. And the entities engaging in this P.O.C. and clearly engaging in that pattern of conduct, and it's very foolish with regard to all the ways in which you're going to prosecute. It is currently 10:53 a.m. and every employee in Starbucks is engaged in federal stalking under Title 18. TAE 286. You'll see this stalker in the handicap parking spot, and also on the walkway, because he's stalking with light. That's why he's parked inappropriately. That's why he's out of the lines. That's why he's in a handicap spot without a handicap pass. He's stalking in the path with light, and he's doing so while the surveillance is underway. And this is what the Ontario Police participate in. This is what they're doing under the fake sun. It's not different when the entity covers up a whole fake sun. That doesn't mean that it rose today in Corona instead of being over Starbucks, like I document on an ongoing basis. It's the P.O.C. It's 10:54 a.m. Alrighty, it is currently 10:57 a.m. The entity has the fake sun over me at the OVITT Family Community Library yesterday as I arrive before this time, and the entity has the fake sun over my head as I stand at the staircase adjacent to the elevator on the inside, where you're looking at my shadow as that engineer light, the shape of that window above my head, above that staircase on the first level, where the demons are pacing inside of that library, gang stalking, and that fake sun remains as I exit at 6 and I capture video at 6:22. This is within a 4-minute walk, 0.4 miles from the current venue, Starbucks, where the Ontario Police is engaged in federal stalking and enters into the venue, gang stalking the American citizen who was reporting them to the federal government in real time with the intent to communicate a threat. And that's reasonably construed as a threat when that department engages in a pattern of kidnapping, waging malicious allegations while they are aware of the fact, not just stalking me, but aware of the fact that I'm documenting that you're stalking me, and doing so in concert with the people who are all waging a threat, including while they exhibit mental illness as psychopaths, chit-chatting, laughing, coking and joking over coffee drinks. That's a threat as well. It's called malice, and it's a threat where the entity is also engaging with psychological torture as they engage in that. It's not persuasive. It is clear gang stalking, and you're witnessing severe mental illness while the police share in that pattern of conduct inside of the cafe with Raquel, G, Amelia, Saul, and I don't know his real name. He just has the letter G, and he probably has that on purpose because that demon knows that I'm documenting. But nonetheless, relevant positioning, the entity is going to produce the names of the employees. This is systematic maintenance of gang stalking by the Starbucks company and Starbucks employees who are sharing. They're stalking with activity while they prepare their drinks. They're monitoring my vagina while they're preparing those drinks, stalking with activity. Those are demons. And those demons share in that demonic P.O.C. with the Ontario police who come into the venue, and all that pattern of conduct remains underway. Okay, so you're going to prison for that. This is the entity that's doing so because of hostility. The demon possessed are more hostile, more psychopathic than concerned with going to places like prison. That's what's wrong with them. That's the national security threat. The entity is stalking me, following me around in helicopters all day long, and that police department comes into the cafe gang stalking in plain view in HD. License 8 UXV641 and 9JPA436, E1A2WD, that is Arizona. You can hear Omnitrans. Omnitrans is a gang stalker. You know that because when I'm on Omnitrans, on any route, I'm documenting the fake sun that is necessarily moving and not remaining over this venue where the Ontario Police entered in with the intent to threaten me while I'm documenting them gang stalking with the people of the state, while I'm documenting the people of the state gang stalking vicariously on behalf of the city of Ontario. Because in Omnitrans, the fake sun remains over me. That's why I capture videos on that bus as I come from Ontario to Fontana, and the entity keeps the fake sun for the entirety of that bus route. That's why I document that. It's not sitting over a Starbucks where Raquel is gang stalking me with the Ontario Police with the intent to threaten and obstruct justice, because I'm exposing the fact that this business and her employment status is targeting me with the intent to threaten my liberty as well. These are the same demons that engage in criminal summoning together. This is how I was subject to kidnapping on May 29, 2025. And that's an unlawful threat that you're going to prison for. All right, it's with impunity. They are engaged in federal stalking and know that I'm documenting, and they're still gang stalking every day that I return to Starbucks. That's a systematic, repeated basis, and you're going to federal prison for that. Remember, the Ontario Police are a little bit different with regard to LAPD, only insofar as the kidnapping aspect. So because Ontario Police has engaged in kidnapping, you're talking about federal prison and disbanding, and you're talking about what other people in state facing federal prison for threatening me. They're sharing in that pattern of conduct, threatening your liberty and your life with that police department that's gang stalking. Engaging in surveillance by surrounding on the corners of this Starbucks license 9HRN357, 7ZAL915, 7NLJ728, 8ZQN948. And I already read these sex offenders monitoring my vagina this morning. License 8UQJ918, license 5GCF348, and I read this one monitoring my vagina this morning, 9BSD645. And the Ontario International Airport is flying over the corner, 9KKN215. This is where the Ontario Police entered into the venue, communicating an unlawful threat pursuant to federal stalking, doing so because I'm documenting on the internet, and you're going to prison for that. You're going to prison for wearing a badge and bearing weapons and gang stalking me, and you're also going to prison for engaging in federal stalking as though you're going to threaten me or any whistleblower out of reporting to the federal government criminal monitoring by a police department that is acting in furtherance of murdering and kidnapping you. Because you're not going to do that and avoid federal prison. And every gang stalking police department is going to be prosecuted for domestic terrorism and psychological torture. License 5VYU130. This is the venue where you'll see all these old white people
sitting right necessarily, and let me be clear, they know that they're being documented, putting on the internet. It is highly unpersuasive. It is, in other words, absolutely irrelevant, the race of the demons that are gang stalking. But they intentionally put old white people at a table right in front of me so that you'll see them, because that's supposed to suggest that they are not concerned with stalking little old me. All right, that they're the least concerned about me, that is absurd. The fake sun doesn't go anywhere. The documentation of the Ontario International Airport gang stalking doesn't go anywhere. The gang stalkers, the kidnappers being inside of this venue, wearing Ontario police badges at a variance of times, 2:47 p.m. C. Torres, 11:08 a.m., those demons engaging in criminal summoning on June 19, 2025. Corey Watson under the 9:18 a.m. fake sun. The gang stalkers with a helicopter at 6:18 p.m. License 9CZW060, license 9LZT261, 5HKA619, 6NME695, 6HOJ821, 49042Y2, 8ALV211. This Starbucks engaging in criminal summoning as well, pursuant to real-time knowledge about what's being documented. That's with the intent to obstruct justice. That's also why you're going to prison. All right, that's the basis of harassing the whistleblower, a federal prosecutor. I'm not just your whistleblower, but this is setting precedent. Anybody reporting a city, a government monitoring you, and they think they're going to call the police, you're going to prison. You are going to federal prison. License 24D5050, 9FAY315. The Ontario Police walk in gang stalking me in particular. That's why a fake sun is already on the record exposing criminal monitoring by Starbucks and Starbucks employees. That is the people of the state who gather at that venue to engage in criminal monitoring when they're all under the fake sun, just like when I'm in my vehicle on the freeway, just like when I'm in my home in Los Angeles, just like when I'm at work in Los Angeles, just like when I'm in Tracy Banks' apartment at Woodside, just like when I'm at the OVITT Family Community Library down the street, just like when I'm on Omnitrans, public transportation, going any way at any time, except with at nighttime, but engineer light remains at night, including when I am in the vehicle of any other third party, including when I'm in Fontana, never even in Ontario. How is the sun remaining 12 hours over Starbucks at 507? This is the asininity of what they just committed. And old white people are stalking, and that specific environment supersedes what they lack in understanding, that your identity is not going to save you. Your identity is a means of identification to prosecute you. That's it. There's sex offenders monitoring my vagina. There's sex offenders and psychopath gang stalking while they're laughing and chit-chatting, showing how they are mentally sick with regard to that level of malice. And let me be clear, the level of pettiness is just off the charts, because it's both petty, but it's also severely criminal. You're so petty because you lose. These demons lost. You're fully exposed. Why, pray tell, would you be on camera next to the police because you don't understand that you're going to prison for it? Why would you walk in on camera and this is a blaring crime scene, and you walk in on camera? That's a psychopath. Understand, it's not just stupid, it's because of the mental illness. These are demons, and they're obsessed with some delusion of some competition. There was never a competition. I'm here to prosecute and expose. They thought that they were going to accomplish something. They thought that they were going to falsely depict me in one way or another. They thought that I was going to be locked up in a facility somewhere so that they could steal my property. That's what they thought. So now you're dealing with what are showing the mental illness, and it's all over the place. It's dripping all over the place, especially while they sit around stalking me. Old white people taking time out of their day to stalk me, because that's what that is, with the police, because they're mad about how probative my evidence is. They're mad about how consistent it is. They're mad about my ability to analyze it. They're mad about my knowledge of the law. They're mad because I'm a black woman doing it by they're mad for all manner of reasons. But they're mad, they're being mad, they're engaging in unlawful conduct. They're going to be prosecuted for it because they're not able to control themselves. It's relevant to diagnosing them for it. All right? License MRSTRCH. Everybody you see on that video, you need to understand this is not just about me. This is setting precedent. Police officers that are gang stalking are murdering American citizens. They're getting away with it in corrupt courts that uphold and defend their conduct. This public corruption system is a threat to the lives of American citizens. You are not going to engage in what they're doing now, but I'm going to prosecute for it. Engaging in surveillance, stalking like a psychopath. License 6YNV591. Hold on, let me get this license plate. 6V. Have to run a little bit. 6VNM591 and 9CZW060. This is how obsessed they are stalking me. They're sitting on the side of the road. The fake sun is over me. Albeit subdued, it is still the fake sun. And by the way, even if it was dark black outside and you couldn't see anything in the sky space, I already have the evidence of the pattern of conduct. The fake sun is over me. The entity is targeting. The entity is monitoring when they're being documented. You can cover up the fake sun, but they're not going to do that because they're more obsessed with stalking and not concerned enough about going to prison for it. And that's why they're going to prison as well, because they will be when they're sitting in prison. License 9LZT261, they will be. When they're actually in prison, when they're actually disbanded, when they're actually shown to be corrupt companies monitoring American citizens, suffering those consequences, that is going to disincentivize it. You'll have people not so readily enthusiastic about participating in it. And that's exactly what has to happen. It is currently, by the way, 11:07 a.m. and the entity is gang stalking 7RQ8323 5ZVK 607. All right, the entity is keeping the fake sun as I'm documenting. I'm already at the OVITT Family Community Library yesterday at this time. I'm getting the stupidity of having the sun in its zenith over the top of my head through the elevator window. It's not necessarily a window in the elevator, but I'm standing, the elevator is adjacent to the staircase, so that's why I identify the elevator window. But there's a window that you can see through the ceiling, like at Upland Public Library, where none of this evidence is supporting the sun being over the Upland Public Library in Upland, California, where demons bearing the Ontario Police Department badge are baboons and walk in, and demons who are obsessively stalking with that dumb police department are stalking in the path. You can laugh, you can cry, you can sit on the floor and give birth to a child. I'm going to prosecute you. It's activity creation. It's the highly malicious, albeit highly unintelligent system of obvious targeting by demons. 8KPT519, 7MPK532. This is what the demons do because they're mad because they lose. You know why they're mad? Because they're mentally ill. These human beings are demon possessed, and that is their mental illness. And because they're so sick and delusional and unhinged with regard to continuously engaging in that which is a whole lost endeavor that you never should have been engaged in the first place, while you're a corrupt government engaging in what is corrupt conduct, illegal activity, public corruption in concert with the population, and you're concerned with making some sort of statement by walking in on my video camera so I can put it on the internet as well and fully support provide more support as to why you're being disbanded. These are the idiots of the Ontario Police Department. He's going to federal prison. That is the policy. They don't get to engage in what is murdering American citizens because that's what it is. It's not an accident. It's not negligence. It's not a misuse of force. It's murder. They're targeting pursuant to criminal summoning where surveillance is underway. You have surveillance. They know what's going on. This is the whole malicious system in this country. Surveillance is underway. You're monitoring American citizens and you take their lives. And then the corrupt courts, which I've documented, they are corrupt. And they thought they were going to steal from me and defame my character and have me locked up somewhere and then ultimately take my life when everybody forgot about me and steal my property. And none of that's happening. 6WGG451. If he's not a natural born citizen, deportation 7469073. When you are engaging in what is murdering and in a position to take the life of an American citizen and you're gang stalking, you're going to prison. You are going to federal prison. That is the policy for corrupt gang stalking police departments. Ontario Police is going to be put on the map for that because that's exactly what's happening to them. All right, I'm documenting the entity engaging in what is the pattern of conduct, and the entity is more concerned about their SOAR because I put addresses on the internet and I'll put more addresses. I could have put the whole block. I could have done a whole lot more. And I've already documented Bonita Court and Ontario Village Shopping Center and have gone through and documented a series of license plates. The people of the state are harming themselves. Their own interests, they're going to be crashing in federal court. You got people that are going to want to protect their money, protect their assets, protect their ability to not be in prison, to not have a criminal record. 7ERS962, 4SZU755. The entity is going to be subject to federal prison for it. The entity surrounding at the all the corners with Impossible Light. Wells Fargo is gang stalking. Downtown Ontario Downtown Ontario apartments are gang stalking, while the entities are maintaining flashing lights, and so is the City of Ontario that's now flying over here while they were flying over Euclid and F Street. Let me get a picture of this. This is P.O.C. This is the Ontario International Airport again, stalking. From corner to corner, that's light activity, stalking in the path, light activity, stalking in the path. Traffic is a light activity as well. Their vehicles moving, the entity's maintaining surveillance and doing a donut in the sky space. They're all monitoring while the Ontario International Airport is stalking with commercial planes. 8VNL412. This is a federal case for every last one of them. Federal stalking. The entity is engaging what is flying in donuts to engage in crossing a path, not taking off from Terminal 2 and Terminal 4. And when I'm at the TABOR professional building, they're flying way northwest to be over me at 325 West G Street. They're stalking together. License 7LKR400. The people of the state are aiding in it, and that's criminal facilitation by the City of Ontario with the flashing of light. This is pursuant to criminal monitoring. This is what LAPD is also doing in a specific environment in Los Angeles, where the entity is doing it under the fake sun. And on this day, on this day in LA, the entity is keeping the fake sun in Los Angeles. And not only that, yesterday, 24 hours ago, I'm already inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. That's relevant to targeting identified by the city. And the Ontario police walked into Starbucks gang stalking. All right, lights with these people, the people of the state. A bunch of demons that sit around gang stalking you, chit-chatting and laughing like nothing is happening, like it's business as usual. It's public corruption, and this is a demon-possessed population. This is this criminal monitoring surrounding with light activity, and it's also the evidence of targeting under the fake sun, knowing exactly who you are, engaging in the pattern of conduct of stalking with light activity. The people of the state, this is context regarding under the fake sun. This is how you know that they're pacing, and this isn't private conduct. This is demonic activity. It's context. License 9DHB089. Pacing with light activity as opposed to minding your business and driving safely and putting on a turn signal. This is pacing. One demon after the crossing path, crossing path, crossing path. Under the fake sun that's already over the OVITT Family Community Library, including while I'm inside of it yesterday at 10:38 a.m. This is P.O.C. And the entity kept the fake sun, remember, it's in this location while it's over this same building when I walk out at 6:22 p.m. These demons are surrounded. There are a bunch of demons and they're stalkers, and they were monitoring with the Ontario police right now on video. Because I'm documenting psychopaths like 9DHB089, I'm putting their addresses on the internet because they're going to be federally prosecuted. This is P.O.C. Threatening while you are gang stalking equals federal prison. You're not going to threaten a whistleblower. You're not going to threaten a federal prosecutor. All right, they're delusional and they're also psychopathic, which you know because they're gang stalking. The demon possession manifests as mental illness in human beings. That's P.O.C. That is not City of Ontario. It is City of Ontario vicariously, but that's a third party. License 124N3. Home Depot is gang stalking in relevant position at their business establishments as well. These are Title 18 federal stalking underway. Stalking in the path. That's P.O.C. That's the entity surrounding with light activity. P.O.C. In the OVITT Family Community Library where the sun is not over it, neither would the sun be over one address, any address, from 10:38 until 6:22, which is what I documented on June 20th, 2025, where you're recognizing demons who are pacing, engaging in surveillance with the Ontario police who are being disbanded. 8VZE539, that's a federal case. 7GMN941, that's a federal case. The fake sun is reflecting off of this windshield. It is not in Los Angeles. And it would not be like I documented yesterday, June 20th, 2024, same time of year analysis. This is understanding every business establishment, the government, the City of Ontario, and the people of the state are engaging in the corrupt system of federal group stalking and monitoring, i.e. gang stalking, P.O.C. License 8EVN371. If she's not a natural born citizen, she's going to be deported. License 18312W1, license 8VVW071, 9KTT146, 7WXR837. Wells Fargo, as you can see on video, is gang stalking as a corrupt establishment. And there's a wealth of evidence about Wells Fargo being a gang stalker. It's not just what I have now. I have evidence fully supporting for a long time, a surplus of evidence about every single person, business, third party, state actor that I document. 86423L3, 9KDR594, 7JIM441, 6DQJ913. 8EVN371, and the fake sun is over me as I'm walking toward the OVITT Family Community Library, which is not the natural environment, and in the unnatural environment, criminal surveillance is underway, and it's domestic terrorism, and it's also a perpetual sex offense committed as an entity, and the entity is doing so while that fake sun is not over the OVITT Family Community Library, and it's also not over the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue as I depart that venue, and it remains over me as I leave, which is also a distinction between the demons who are gang stalking, including the Ontario Police Department, and the one who is being targeted, who suffers no mental illness whatsoever, and the entity is also going to be prosecuted for that criminal purpose, conspiring to criminally defame an American citizen in order to murder them, in order to kidnap them, in order to steal from them. All right, it's OVITT Family Community Library, 215 EC Street in Ontario, where the fake sun remains at 6:22 p.m., like I documented on video, on June 20th, 2025. This is P.O.C. If you have not already heard, the Ontario Police Department is being disbanded. P.O.C.
All right, this is documentation of harassment by the OVITT Family Community Library and all of the gang stalking patrons that are in engineered light while they're engaging in surveillance in the library, and they are beating on the desks, making noise, stalking with noise, that is, in engineered light while the fake sun's over the library, which remains, like I documented yesterday, June 20th until 6:22 p.m. They're engaging in what is gang stalking with the same Ontario Police Department, including federal stalking, beating on the furniture, which is psychopathic, while they're stalking pursuant to the real-time knowledge like demons have about what I'm doing on my communication device, while that audible activity in engineer light is ongoing pursuant to what is obstruction of justice. Interfering with the evidence that is to expose where you are being targeted by a population that's acting in furtherance of murder and kidnapping is an unlawful threat posed by that population. At 215 E.C. Street, the OVITT Family Community Library is gang stalking. These are the same demons stalking in the bathroom as well. It's 1:59 p.m. I'm going to upload it, but I want to document this harassment as an entity that is acting with the same Ontario police that entered Starbucks, where the same population is gang stalking. P.O.C. The sound of the plane just started when I pressed record. There was no sound. You're looking at the plane, and the sound of the plane is demonic activity. It's amplification. And that is Alaska Airlines hovering over the B&G Plaza. This is Holt and Plum. Alaska Airlines is not taking off from Terminal 2 and Terminal 4 from right here. This is targeting by the Ontario International Airport. And remember, this is where they're flying here. They're flying much west over the Ontario Village Shopping Center where I was last night and hovering over that shopping plaza like they're taking off there. But they're rising in elevation right here. So are they flying over west from this location and again, then dipping down again lower to take off by the over the shopping center like they were last night? And then they're flying northwest to be over Woodside Senior Apartments, to be over the TABOR Professional Building. Are they lowering in elevation when they're taking off from way over here, which even this isn't taking off from Terminal 2 and Terminal 4? But they are doing it where the Ontario parking, because here they are right here. This is P.O.C. This is the same gang stalking the city of Ontario monitoring with the people of the state. That's vehicle 1021. The entity sounding shots reminiscent of gunshots. Then Alaska Airlines deviating from the airport to engage in audible activity creation. And this is the Ontario police gang stalking me like they were in Starbucks this morning. License plate 1591659, vehicle 1021. This is targeting. This is group stalking by the city of Ontario. That's federal prison. All right. That's a male operating that vehicle, Caucasian, Latino. This is P.O.C. and it's currently 8:02 p.m. The entity maintaining amplified banging, popping noises, and then Alaska Airlines rising up in elevation right here. No sound. The sound begins at the moment that I start recording. That's called stalking with activity. And there's no terminal right here. There's also no terminal way down northwest where I'm at on G Street, and the entity's flying over 325 West G Street. Gang stalking with all of the people of the state. P.O.C. This is Holt and Plum. And I've documented the sunrise and the sunset right here as well. This is P.O.C. All right, 6YFL 851. Molesting with the people of the state at Metro 102 Apartments at 102 Lemon Avenue, gang stalking, and doing so while I'm walking in the dark. And so this is a demon that is stalking, who knows exactly who I am, while I'm being terrorized with impulsive light that's around me on the sidewalk while they're driving on the street, crossing path and going to facilitating video Metro 102, where that entire apartment complex is gang stalking. And my documentation surrounds Metro 102 in the parking garage, which is a covered structure, impulsive light inside of that parking garage, fake sun over the Metro 102, morning, afternoon, and into the evening. 9EGV197, 9DKX218, 71553G2, and it's currently 8:35 p.m. While I am walking, and the city of Ontario is gang stalking in concert with the people of the state, and the signature of what is stalking with light, where criminal monitoring is what I remain subject to, while gang stalking by the people of the state is underway, and this is why the Ontario police is being disbanded. It's evidence against the Ontario police who are gang stalking me. License 4NHC969. This is P.O.C. License CVT 3038. That's Arizona. And this is at ARCO 434 North Euclid 7WZU 228. The entity is aiming light, stalking with light in the path while I'm walking north of Euclid Avenue. And their headlights are not that powerful. It's engineer light. These are demons stalking with the city of Ontario. And by the way, they're black, they're white, they're Asian, they're over and under 18. 63859. That's a third-party gang stalking at ARCO. ARCO's making money, profiting from domestic terrorism gang stalking with the gang stalking demons who are patrons at the venue. 8LVA 258. And Cool Transports, license 45692D2, license 9TIH520, P.O.C, demons stalking with light, criminal monitoring, license 8WLE136. This demon right here is starting her ignition with regard to stalking with activity and can't figure out how to drive because she's pacing. License 7WZU228. This is again 434 North Euclid Avenue. The ARCO across the street from the Starbucks where the fake sun remains over me inside of that Starbucks. And ARCO and Chevron and the Unicare community and everybody else in the city of Ontario is gang stalking me as I remain inside of that Starbucks. 8YFB131 77843K3. It's 8:46 p.m. The demons, who are the people of the state, are admitting to knowledge of who I am while they're stalking with light. This is demonic behavior. The demon possessed know exactly who they're targeting, and they're engaging in that satanic pattern of conduct together as one entity in the shoes of the government, while the Ontario police are monitoring me with them. P.O.C. All right, it is currently 8:50 p.m. inside of 507 North Euclid Avenue, and the entity is stalking with light while I'm inside of the cafe, and this is at nightfall. It is equally impossible while the fake sun is shining over this building for 11 hours all day. It is the ongoing admission of the demon-possessed who are engaging in what is targeting the specific person that is subject to that pattern of conduct, which is demonic. It's terrorizing, it's harassing, it's also sexually motivated, sexually perverted, and it is pursuant to the pattern of conduct. The Ontario Police Department sharing in that pattern of conduct on cameras right now at what is F Street and Euclid, engaging in criminal summoning while the entity is stalking with impossible light that's appearing inside of this cafe while the people of the state are entering simultaneously. They're gang stalking together. I'm going to capture images of them. They're engaged in criminal summoning, and so are the employees at Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. And this is where the Ontario police entered inside of the venue this morning, gang stalking as well. The impossible light activity is demonic. It is pursuant to what is psychological torture. It's also pursuant to what is a proven fact regarding the malice behind the system of gang stalking, and it is the evidence of criminal monitoring that's also happening on the venue of the internet, where the Ontario police are aware of what's being published and they enter in and come around me pursuant to the intent to threaten, harass, intimidate, which is what criminal summoning is serving the purpose of right now. This police department is being disbanded. They're engaged in pulling over the people of the state who are stalking with the possible light. This is the ridiculousness of their criminal system, as they are literally fallen in every area, entirely illegitimate. You're pulling over the third parties, you're stalking in the path, you're in the engineer light, you're creating light activity, you're doing it with simultaneity to my documentation, you're doing it in the venue where the fake sun sits over me for 11 hours. This is, again, the demon-possessed psychopaths who are stalking day and night in helicopters, and they are engaging in that P.O.C. very openly while they are being prosecuted, not only on the internet, but they're going to be prosecuted in court. All right, it is currently 8:52 p.m. The entity that is gang stalking is following from place to place, and that's what my podcast documentation, this is evidence, is going to be used to disband the Ontario Police Department for. They're engaged in a pattern of kidnapping while gang stalking me, and they're doing that in concert with the people of the state, and that is occurring in the specific environment. And inside of Starbucks, Impossible Light is moving across that same leather sofa, and this is the same conduct that they're engaging in during the day while the fake sun sits over this same address. And the Ontario Police is engaging in criminal summoning right now as I documented that, while simultaneously the demon-possessed, the third parties, the people of the state, that you heard today laughing and coking and joking and getting louder, competing with my documentation, those old white people that were sitting at the table in front of me, gang stalking, engaging in domestic terrorism in plain view. This is what the entity is doing right now before they're prosecuted. They're engaging in federal offenses on video camera that's going to be used in court to prosecute them, and demonstrating, providing a tutorial to the rest of the country, the world, as to how Satan is targeting people through the demon-possessed, and it is criminal conduct pursuant to what's happening on your devices, what's happening on the internet, and what's happening as you're kept under surveillance unbeknownst to you. But nonetheless, these are the same population that are following me around, that is stalking as I go from place to place. This impossible light activity is what is
all over the property of the TABOR Professional Building when the demons are gang stalking all night long, where they know that I'm sleeping as well, and they're stalking a woman in the middle of the night while I am going from place to place, including remaining, which is surveillance that they're engaging in. It's also surveillance when they sit inside a Starbucks, and the entity is stalking with regard to the maintenance of that specific environment. So where the impossible light activity follows, the supernatural environment is not something that's naturally occurring. So you're following me around with this demonic behavior, keeping me under surveillance and stalking me in doing so, and exhibiting severe mental illness in doing so, and you're also going to be prosecuted for that. That's a threat while a bunch of mentally sick people are stalking me from place to place with the intent to keep me under surveillance and the delusion that they are going to falsely depict my character in doing so, while I am proving their mental illness and the fact that they're engaged in criminal conduct of an unprecedented nature with the government. And that government, which is includes the Ontario Police Department, is being disbanded. And they're also being embarrassed while their mental illness is put on full display. And that's necessary when you're exposing public corruption, by the way. You don't just expose it, you make a spectacle out of it. And then you make sure that nobody else engages in it as well. That's a part of disincentivizing this criminal conduct by the government, making a fool out of themselves and putting it all over the internet and then prosecuting them comprehensively. All right, Ontario Police engaging in criminal summoning at F Street, where the entity engaged in criminal summoning at 11:08 a.m. on June 19, 2025 on video. They're engaged in criminal summoning at nightfall and engineered light. They're engaging in a traffic stop, gang stalking me with the people of the state, who are the same demons stalking with the possible light. They're doing so while they're engaging in a traffic stop. They're doing it while they have multiple shadows and they're monitoring me. Those are the psychopaths that are going to be disbanded, entirely illegitimate and not engaged in law enforcement. They're engaged in what is stalking. They're engaged in stalking in bathrooms. They're engaged in what is keeping my genitalia under surveillance. They're engaged in what is trying to maintain the secrecy about their mental illness. These are psychopaths, and that is the qualification of getting onto the Ontario Police Department, and that's why that entire department is going to be disbanded. They are a demon-infected and corrupt agency. It is currently 8:55 p.m. This is P.O.C. The people of the state are inside a Starbucks engaging in criminal summoning with them, and that's a federal offense as well. This is P.O.C. These are the demon-possessed engaging in criminal summoning, gang stalking me while committing what is a traffic stop while I'm in the venue of Starbucks conducting documentation about impossible light. They're gang stalking, and so now they're gang stalking while the police are engaging in what is criminal summoning, and they're doing it in the specific environment. I have two shadows over here. The entity is gang stalking. I'll show you the specific environment and the people of the state that are gang stalking with the Ontario Police. This is license plate 5TOR33. This is federal prison. I'm documenting throughout Southern California, engaging what is gang stalking me by pulling over the demon-possessed gang stalkers who are stalking with light, molesting with the possible light activity, and then they're pulling them over as though you're supposed to forget that evidence, how they're targeting together. This is the department that's being disbanded, stalking me day and night in helicopters, and they're entirely illegitimate. This is the malicious pattern of conduct where Nathan Morgan, this is 1697701, Nathan Morgan, C. Torres. No problem. I'm on the sidewalk, which is public property. Oh, no problem. I'll be right here. I'm documenting. What's your name?
That's fine.
You don't want to give your... What's your name?
Corporal Tedesco.
One more time?
Corporal Tedesco.
Corporal Tedesco is a demon-possessed gang stalker. He's engaged in criminal monitoring, and he's doing so in the specific environment where he's exercising authority that he doesn't have under the law while he's engaged in criminal surveillance under the guise of committing a traffic stop. And this is where this department engages in multiple kidnappings, bearing weapons while gang stalking, that's federal prison, in operation of communication devices, that's Title 18 federal stalking. They're creating light activity in the path and in an environment where the the lights out here, they don't create multiple shadows. These are demons. And this is the same department stalking day and night in helicopter, doing so at this same exact Starbucks, and then have the stupid audacity to be here with the people of the state that are also surrounded with a body of evidence. Corporal Tedesco is going to federal prison. This is the entity and his partner right here engaging in what is, remember, criminal summoning under the fake sun at this same exact Starbucks at 11:08 a.m. where LAPD is gang stalking in the same exact specific environment. This is a malicious iteration of the same P.O.C. They are simultaneously using the vehicles on the lights, which is the demon stalk with activity, while they're conducting what is the outer guise of the pattern of conduct by pulling over the people of the state, the demons who are stalking with the Ontario Police Department in Ontario. All right. The asininity of keeping the fake sun over the venue, and then you're committing what is the federal offense of criminal summoning at that same specific environment that that documented crime scene is the foolishness of the imbeciles that are going to be disbanded. When you're gang stalking while being in law enforcement, you're going to federal prison. That's what Corporal Tedeschi, that's what his fate is. So is Nathan Morgan, C. Torres, L. Martinez, and B. Hook, engaging in kidnapping while exercising authority under the law that they don't have. This is criminal surveillance, not law enforcement. And this is the criminal cooperative act of criminal summoning pursuant to gang stalking. And it is happening in that supernatural environment. This is why I have multiple shadows over here on both sides, because this is not the product of being under what is the natural light. The environment is what is showing you the P.O.C. And this is also exhibiting severe mental illness. This level of malice and corruption is revealing the psychopaths that need to be removed from law enforcement, and they will in Ontario. This is P.O.C. It's currently 8:59 p.m. This is criminal summoning, another iteration of the same P.O.C. And then they are going to be following me in helicopter, gang stalking all night long, like I document on an ongoing basis. That's the Corporal Tedeschi of the corrupt Ontario Police Department. Poor leadership, closeted mental illness, and you're going to be prosecuted. This is P.O.C. All right, it is currently 10:08 p.m. The people of the state that are stalking with light, engaging in harassment, these are the psychopaths that are threatening your life and also your well-being while they're engaging in psychopathic and demonic things such as stalking and molesting with light everywhere as an entity. And then they engage in what is also psychopathic, asking questions while they're keeping you under surveillance about that which they know while they're monitoring. The entity is surrounded with light 8BVK890. And lights coming from behind me. This is demonic, and it's also terrorism, and the Ontario Police is gang stalking with these psychopaths. License 7HLT 467.
Can I help you?
Was I talking to you?
No, you're taking pictures of license plates. This is private property.
No, I'm not. But that's helicopter activity. Is that has something to do with what you're asking me about? Did you call the police?
No.
Oh, this is the helicopter. What is this? This is 130 West G Street?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is called the gym? What's your name? Nathan? Okay, Nathan's engaging in threatening with the Ontario Police. That's a threat when the police are arriving and you're asking me questions and I'm standing outside. And as far as you're concerned, I'm minding my business.
I'm sure this is
As far as, and what is that? They're all in the parking lot too.
The parking lot is private property.
Well, why are you asking me to leave? What did I do?
This is private property and you're being threatened.
How am I being threatening?
Because you're just being aggressive.
How? How am I being aggressive?
Because you're talking to me in an aggressive
No, you approached me and asked me in an aggressive manner. How am I doing? Don't try to flip it now. You approached me in an aggressive manner. I'm asking you, what even prompted you to ask me that, as opposed to everybody else in this parking lot, while the police are flying over in helicopter. Nathan is engaging in what is an unlawful threat while they're engaged in monitoring the evidence. 51204T3, 8BVK890. The Ontario Police that are gang stalking Corporal Tedeschi is going to federal prison. He's gang stalking and the entity is engaging in what is a threat while you're documenting them stalking you. That's federal prison. 8BVK890 stalk with Ontario Police. 8NKE688, 7ETD086, 9FNA055. These demons are all sitting in their cars, all right, presumptively engaging in what is minding their business. Excuse me, don't approach me. Don't approach me. You're aggressively approaching with the Ontario Police flying in helicopter, and this is again 6YFB 598. That's audible activity. This is audible activity of a demon that's engaging with gang stalking with the Ontario Police. He's going to federal prison. License 9PKG153. These are demons sitting in their car, acting like they're minding their business. The Ontario Police flies over, and they're jumping out, making these insults. 9PGK153. This is the demon with multiple shadows. This is the conduct of the demon possessed that are engaging in that pattern of conduct. Okay, that's P.O.C. And that's Nathan. That's again engaging in that pattern of conduct with the police flying over the gym at 130 West G Street. Now Nathan, just want to be clear, he just aggressive approached me and calling me out of my name. And he's yelling and cussing at me. I just want to make sure that's clear when you're approaching me about things that I didn't say anything to anybody. And okay, just want to make sure that's clear. That's P.O.C. That's P.O.C. Nathan is gang stalking. That's 130 the gym, and they're all monitoring over here. And this unfounded hostility and these ongoing accusations while the entity is stalking 6LQU028 with the Ontario Police Department. That's a Latino male. Gang stalking with the Ontario Police that flies over the gym while Nathan of 130 West G Street is gang stalking. And these are the psychopaths. That audible activity, you hear them? He's approaching my person, making accusations when I'm in custody of my phone. Now, first of all, you're documenting the entity. The police is monitoring. The police are monitoring right now. And they're flying in circles while the demons are pacing on G Street, and they're all engaged in monitoring, so you document them, and then the terrorists get out making threats to you. They're going to federal prison. All right, but what they're doing is they're making accusations that are unfounded. That's why I'm going through what's actually happening while they're sitting in their cars, presumably focused on their phones, emptying out their trunks, not paying attention to you, not looking at you, not addressing you, and then making unfounded accusations. Oh, excuse me, are you taking pictures of my car? When I'm standing and looking at my phone and engaging in doing anything, I could be doing anything on my phone. And I'm also in the parking lot that everybody else is in the parking lot. The entity is targeting me, asking me questions like I am engaged in some violation of the law, and I'm not. And this third party is engaging what is making verbal threats to me, approaching me as though, and making, also, you hear this talking about gap tooth B and calling me out of my name, black this, and all the stuff that he's saying, which is audible activity. And this is Satan. I want to be clear. These are the demon possessed. These are the terrorists that are gang stalking with the police. The police flies right over the gym right here. This is the same parking lot where the Ontario police were engaged in menacing, ominous stalking, flying in slow, driving in slow motion while I'm documenting the same venue where the entity has the fake sun in the morning. The Ontario police were gang stalking. I'll remind you about that video documentation. The Ontario police engaging what is threatening as well, doing so while they're engaging in that pattern of conduct and making threats together as one entity. These are the demons that are hostile because they're being documented while they're gang stalking. 9RXL139. And again, this third party that's engaged in making that threat with the Ontario Police Department, that's federal prison. That's 6YFB59A. The entity is engaging in what is threatening and engaging in what is unfounded hostility, making assumptions that are not supported on the bare-faced facts. They're engaged in gang stalking. That's why they're making those assumptions. And that's also why you're so upset with regard to what it is that I'm engaging in, which you should not be so perturbed by. The entity, are you still approaching me?
No.
You're still approaching me. Get away from me. I
sorry.
suggest you back up and stay away from me. Stay away from me. That's audible activity. The entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct, and this is an unlawful threat while you are still following me. Get away from me. Stay away. I suggest you stay away. You better back away from me. Keep talking. Keep talking.
Stop walking.
Keep
towards my
talking.
fucking
Stay away
car.
from me.
Yeah, stop walking
Stop.
towards my car.
Stay away from me.
Like a crazy lady
You better
are.
stay away from me.
We have you
You
on
can talk all
camera.
you want. I don't care. You're going
Yeah.
to federal prison. You're a fool. You keep following
You're
me in
a
this parking lot.
tweaker.
You keep
You're a
following me in this
zombie.
parking lot. You keep walking in this parking lot and following me to yell at me. Go mind your business.
You're over here
Like I
walking
said,
towards my car.
this is the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct, engaging in harassment. Is no distraction from the P.O.C. That unfounded hostility is because they are documenting while the Ontario police fly over in helicopters. So I'm going to document this right now. This is the speech. This is the conduct. This is the conduct of the Ontario Police Department. This is P.O.C. This is the Ontario police that are flying in circles over the parking lot while the people of the state that you'll hear on podcast right now, it's currently it's 10:15 p.m. The Ontario police fly right over the gym at 130 West G Street while Nathan walks toward me, approaching me when I'm standing in the parking lot like everyone else is in the vehicles, getting in and out of their vehicles, driving in and out of the parking lot. Nothing that I'm doing causing extra attention to myself. What I'm doing that's causing attention is documenting their gang stalking. And the unfounded hostility is based on knowledge pursuant to federal stalking. They know exactly what I'm doing on my phone. And this is already known because they're in the specific environment. I'm breaking down the facts to you. I'm breaking down the information, and I'm breaking down all of that audible speech, that threat, the approaching my person, making threats of violence with regard to an unreasonable threat by the people of the state that are gang stalking, engaging in criminal summoning with the Ontario police, the police engaging in a pattern of kidnapping and harassment and stalking with this same population that is then engaging in what is approaching me, following me while I'm on podcast. He's following me in this parking lot while I am in custody of my phone. First of all, you're going to document the gang stalker, period. Second of all, the entity is engaging in what is an unlawful threat while they're still monitoring right now. They're monitoring at the same time while this demon, who is monitoring as well, is making verbal threats, and the police are gang stalking in helicopter. Flew right over this gym while Nathan is on my podcast, making unfounded allegations, focusing on me as opposed to everybody else that's doing essentially the same exact thing. While he's making a rapid escalation in information. So there's a rumor that's rapidly spreading in the parking lot. Oh, she's taking pictures. She's taking pictures of my license plate. She's taking pictures of my license plate while they are all, again, engaging in the conduct, the passive aggressive stalking, where they're not paying attention to you. They're oblivious to your presence. You're the last concern of them, but you have a rapidly escalating rumor in the dark parking lot in the night, and they're talking about, can I help you? This is private property, as though you're doing something wrong. While he does that, which is audible activity, Ontario police fly right over. That's a communication of a threat and psychological torture by the entity that engages in criminal summoning as well. And that's the entity that flew all around in circles. And you saw the Ontario police right here monitoring. That's the people of the state. That's 130 West G Street. That's an unlawful threat. That's the basis of federal prison. The Ontario police are being disbanded. And that third party who was on the podcast is communicating an unlawful threat. And everything that he is stating, his ongoing pursuit of me in the parking lot, those are all unlawful threats. And it's also unfounded hostility. When you're not gang stalking, even if somebody is looking at your license plate, which is publicly exposed on your vehicle, what is it with regard to that unfounded hostility and threatening a woman and following and chasing her down in the parking lot and cussing and all of that information, and all of that I'm documenting? This is unfounded hostility. It is based on the guilty knowledge with regard to, you know exactly what I'm doing. The entity is hostile to documentation, and they're acting on behalf of the Ontario police. Now, the targeted individual that responds and defends themselves, they're the ones that are subject to kidnapping. It doesn't change from being a kidnapping. I want to be clear. Okay, so this coward, if he were to get decked in his face like he would, but for my maintaining myself because I'm documenting the people of the state, that's federal prison. I'm going to capture what is the entity that's engaged in the P.O.C. They're crossing paths. They're monitoring at the same time he's communicating a threat. That's Nathan of 130 West G Street, who's engaging in harassment, threatening me with the Ontario police that flies over the building. And the entity is referring to what is the parking lot, which is not his property. So this is, again, he's stating that this is private property. This is not all private property, and you can walk in this parking lot. And not only that, I'm not doing anything different from what all the rest of them are doing. And you're also free to use your communication device. And they're assuming that I'm taking pictures. They're making all manner of unfounded assumptions. This is what the entity would refer to as paranoia. This is what the entity will refer to as what is the mental illness. And this is the entity's pattern of conduct. And they're engaging in what is exemplifying, demonstrating the mental illness that the target individual is supposed to be demonstrating or suffering from. And they're the ones making those unfounded assumptions based on the facts. But this is why they're doing that, because they know exactly what I'm doing. They're in engineered light. He was chasing me down while I'm in full custody, lawful custody of my device, documenting their criminal conduct, which is with the police, while they fly over my head in their presence, making verbal threats and insults, which is all audible activity, and it's an unlawful federal offense. It's a basis of federal prison. He's speaking to the fact that he's associated with this gym. This is called the gym at 130 West G Street. This plaza, they're all engaged in light activity. They're sex offenders monitoring with the Ontario police, engaging what is an unlawful threat while they're gang stalking, and you don't have any basis for impeding on an ongoing investigation, and you're doing so with the Ontario police that were already present, gang stalking with you. That's why they flew right over my head in helicopter, and you can hear that on the podcast. And that's why I started capturing video, because Ontario police proceeded to fly in circles around, and the Ontario police dips out of view. But you already know that they're monitoring right now. That's federal prison. That's federal prison right there. That's Nathan with the blue shirt on, communicating a threat. And so is this third party engaging in what is threatening me as well. And that's the entity speaking. That's the entity speaking. The entity that's engaging in what is harassing you, that is, again, the entity that's aware of the fact that they're being documented, period. And there's no excuse to engage in harassment. So when you call and you tell somebody, even the police, that they're taking a picture of your license plate, guess what? So what? So what? All right, the entity is engaging, but nonetheless, you need to understand the substance of it, because they're engaging in the P.O.C. And it's not a so what with regard to gang stalking. You're going to federal prison for it. It's obstruction of justice. It's a threat with regard to the entity that engages in criminal summoning and engages in kidnapping. 9TUJ 106, 8TXM 696. And this is the gym at 130 West G Street. And they're gang stalking right now while making that unlawful threat. This is light activity. This is what they're doing, molesting with impossible light, stalking the demons that stalk with light, and doing so with the Ontario police flying over in helicopter. And going to federal prison is, again, 6YFD 598, chasing me down in the parking lot while gang stalking at the same time with the Ontario police that fly over in helicopter. And Nathan is communicating that threat as well. This is P.O.C. It is currently, again, 10:21 p.m. That's the pattern of conduct. And that's obstruction of justice. You're going to federal prison for that. And the Ontario police is being disbanded for this very conduct. This is what the entity does as a population. And it's the intent to obstruct justice while they're engaging in a pattern of conduct. They're also demonstrating paranoia, absent knowledge of the P.O.C., making unfounded allegations merely because you're in custody of your phone. While I'm doing this same thing with my phone, I could be taking a selfie, engaging in what is FaceTime. I could be doing all manner of things, looking at my Google Maps about where it is that I'm trying to find. I have my bag, but they have no idea. They should not have an idea, but they know who I am. The specific environment demonstrates that. They're gang stalking. And this is the heavily documented venue of the plaza that has the fake sun in the morning. The entity has the fake moon over me. The entity is flying in circles over me at the TABOR Professional Building right here by planes and helicopters. They're all engaging in that pattern of conduct. They're molesting with light while I'm walking toward, and I go document them, which is exactly what you're going to do. The entity that tries to obstruct justice is going to federal prison. The Ontario police arriving in helicopter, they're going to federal prison. That's P.O.C. It is currently 10:22 p.m. All right, the video that you're listening to is the video evidence of Ontario police gang stalking and threatening me with the people of the state. This is, again, what I'm documenting on an ongoing ceaseless basis, the pattern of conduct at every venue, every license plate, inside of the library, the engineered light that they're all pacing and checking out books and asking about the reading summer program. They're all monitoring with the Ontario Police Department, with the City of Ontario. And this is why when I am being targeted in the parking lot for what is absolutely lawful conduct, by the way, and not only is it lawful, it's exactly what you're going to do when the government is gang stalking you like they are in this parking lot at 130 West G Street. That's also lawful conduct, and the entity is not going to interfere with, engage in obstruction of justice by interfering with your right to document them targeting you. And they're doing so while they are necessarily making assumptions about what you're doing on your phone, which is also none of their business and nothing that you would ordinarily be consumed with, unless I'm like peeping in your window, taking pictures of your children inside of your house, or something that's obviously a violation of your privacy. But the entity is, again, engaging in what is the exploitation of what is the pattern of conduct that's underway, and then trying to engage in what is some sort of gang conduct, or are you taking, yes, she's taking pictures of my license, but she's taking pictures of my license rapidly. This is, you're talking about 30 seconds, I'm walking through the parking lot, and that rumor rapidly escalates to what is Nathan approaching me and stating, oh, how can I help you? But it's not a helpful, how can I help you? It's a confrontational, how can I help you? As in the Ontario police flying over in helicopter, and that's a communication of a threat while the entity is gang stalking together, stalking with light at 323 West G Street with their hazard lights on, gang stalking with the Ontario police as well, surrounding with light, which is exactly what they were doing in the parking lot. Let me get the license plate at 323 West G Street, license 7A-DZ189. This is what the Ontario police are doing at 2 in the morning when the people of the state are gang stalking at Fern Avenue, engaging in the P.O.C. This is where the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking by commercial planes, and the people of the state aiding the criminal elements monitoring. This is surveillance. It's license 8MMR332. This is P.O.C. And then again, that's 323 West G Street, stalking in the path with light activity, turning their hazard lights on in relevant position, maintaining presence in the path with the method of light. And this is what they're doing throughout the parking lot at 130 West G Street, which is that shopping plaza. And I just documented an iteration of harassment. This is the entity speaking together. They're not strangers. They're one entity that are targeting me together. And that's why also the absence of coincidence, as the Ontario Police Department flies right over while Nathan is approaching me. Nathan knows exactly who I am, and Nathan is monitoring me with the intent to obstruct justice, harass me while I am in full custody of all of my constitutional rights, documenting. The entity engages in what is criminal summoning under those exact same facts. And who are they summoning? They're summoning the demons of the Ontario police, who are gang stalking as well. That's the malicious pattern of conduct. All right, that's the malicious pattern of conduct, and that's what Tracy Banks is engaging in, but for absolutely nothing even happened on May 29th. She came into the apartment and just stated, after coming back from work, which is what she claimed she did, there's really no knowledge. The feds are going to confirm what she does every day. Her whole life is a lie. But anyway, she claims that she goes to work, and when she came home from wherever she came home all day, presumably work, she stated that the police were coming. Absolutely nothing precipitated what was criminal summoning on May 29th. And so when she is arriving back to the apartment, this is when Nathan Morgan, Nathan Morgan, L. Martinez, and B. Hook arrived. And then that first kidnapping attempt lacked the requisite ability to exercise fictitious authority. That is a legitimate law enforcement agency, which is what the Ontario police are feigning the status of. They're not. They're engaged in criminal surveillance. They're gang stalkers. They're demons. They're corrupt. And they're engaged in harassment with the people of the state who know that they're being documented for criminal surveillance. And this is why they're making unfounded assumptions while the Ontario police fly over my head in their presence in the engineer light. And they're doing so pursuant to what is that pattern of conduct. And it's that same behavior where the entity then engages in criminal summoning, and they summon the gang stalking police department. This is what Corporal Tedeschi is engaging in at Starbucks. And that's federal prison. Corporal Tedeschi and his partner gang stalking at Starbucks in the engineer light. License 9STA015. License EE05U38, that's a paper plate. They're gang stalking with the Ontario Police. That is sounding helicopter activity where I stand at the TABOR Professional Building. All right, this is the entity following with helicopter in the presence of the people of the state engaging in what is harassment as I document them. You're not going to be inside a Starbucks threatening in my face gang stalking with the demons of the Ontario Police that walk into gang stalk. You're not going to, and avoid federal prison, I mean. You're not going to engage in what is criminal monitoring and then engaging in what is threatening. You're calling names, you're stalking me. So Satan does not insult me. When you're stalking me, you're monitoring my vagina, and then you're hostile while I'm documenting you for stalking me and being obsessed with monitoring my vagina. That's a psychopath, and that's a violent sex offender who needs to be documented and put in the appropriate facility. That is federal prison. And so is the demon that's stalking in helicopter flying over 130 West G Street, because that demon's identity is going to be produced, and that demon's going to federal prison as well. The Ontario Police is gang stalking in concert with the people of the state. The people of the state are engaging what are the elements of monitoring. This is why you have the impossible light activity while they are in the path. They're not separate from that. They are a part of it. They're always present when it's happening. And so is the entity that's gang stalking by planes, helicopters, and ambulances, fire trucks, and police vehicles in the city of Ontario. That is the Ontario Police that is being disbanded. The entity is engaging in audible activity with the ongoing purpose of monitoring. Everything that's heard and everything that's happening is happening in engineered light, in impossible light activity, in directed light. This is an environment that is facilitating, that is designed to maintain criminal monitoring with the people in via communication devices. And on podcasts, you will hear the helicopter. You'll hear me referring to the helicopter. And I also captured video of it. And at 130 West G Street, that entire venue, it's a gym. That entire plaza is monitoring, but Nathan is inside of that gym. I'm capturing the entity that is gang stalking on video and engaging in what is harassment. Now, Nathan is rightfully approaching somebody that's engaging in what is some sort of, I don't know who Nathan is actually, he's not security. But nonetheless, if Nathan wants to approach someone, he should approach his own personnel who are engaging in what is threatening conduct for no reason. Because taking a picture, even if you have facts proving that, it's not an offense. It's not a violation of the law, and there's no basis for that level of hostility, but for you're being a gang stalker and you're fearful of being reported to the feds, and now you're being reported to the feds for obstruction of justice upon gang stalking, seeking to a threat of violence while you are chasing me down in the parking lot while I am engaging in what is documenting you and moving away from you. This is a stalker. I'm not sitting there conversing with him. This is a psychopath that's asking questions that he knows the answer to while he's sitting on his communication device monitoring mine. With the police, who know exactly who I am, stalking me, keeping me under surveillance as well, flying over. And that's the mental illness, that maniacal conduct, that malicious conduct, that deranged behavior. That does not falsely depict the character of the targeted individual whatsoever. This is the population that's gang stalking. This is the population that sits inside a Starbucks, cheesing from ear to ear, like they're not worried about you, like you are the last concern, while in the engineer light under the fake sun, while the police are gang stalking you. And those are the psychopaths that are stalking day and night. They're stalking right now. They were stalking while they were in the plaza making all of that audible activity, which is threatening with the Ontario Police. They are stalking the entire time. That's mental illness 101 of the entity. And I want to be clear, that life support that I documented, that's federal prison. All right, and engaging in what is harassment, this is what a psychopath is thinking is going to make the target. It does not. It bears nothing on me. You are going to document the deranged stalkers that are obsessed with my vagina. Yes, you're going to be documented. And while you exhibit hostility because you're a criminal that's stalking a woman in the middle of the night, engaging in deranged and mentally ill behavior, such as stalking somebody with light, oh, I want to touch you with light. Let me aim my light at you. That's a demon. That's a weirdo. That's a stalker. That's a group stalker. That's a mentally ill person. The behavioral health is what is at issue there. And that is what is also hostile. That's the psychopath that engages in flying in circles over me by helicopter because they're hostile about what I just published on the internet. It's the same demonic spirit, that same psychopathic personality disorder. And the Ontario Police are directly engaging in that threat together, sharing in it while they're gang stalking in relevant position. They fly over the gym and then they fly in circles, and I capture video while they're remaining in relevant position. And as I start capturing that video, that is when the Ontario Police dip out of vision. They're still gang stalking right now. In the same way that they popped up and flew over that gym while I'm standing in that parking lot, those demons are one and the same. Meaning they are one entity. They speak as one. One demon threatens me, everybody in relevant position, I'm documenting you. If you're gang stalking with the police, everybody that I'm documenting is going to federal prison. The entity is engaged in criminal summoning with you, you're going to federal prison. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct together, and you can feign ignorance. That's what the entity does. You're going to surround them with the evidence of what is the supernatural environment, proving the facts of monitoring by that entity. It's public corruption. You can stay absolutely silent. You can be defiant and as loud as you want. Everything you say and do is going to be used against you. Or you can make an admission. You can make an admission. It doesn't matter. In other words, it doesn't matter what they do. They're surrounded. They're going to be prosecuted. This is the mentally ill population, and this is how the demon-possessed, this is how terrorists behave themselves. And they're also doing it against a woman. This shows, again, violence against women that the Ontario Police Department are engaging in, that they are facilitating, that they encourage. All right. This is currently 10:33 p.m. That is again 130 West G Street, the entire plaza, 715 North Euclid Avenue. That's the Pizza Hut Plaza. That's where the entity is maintaining the elements of monitoring as a venue altogether. That parking lot encompasses more than one store, more than one venue. But the gym is the one that remains open late at night, I believe, and so does 7-Eleven. But the entity, just with regard to who's open, the entity that is engaging in the P.O.C. is monitoring altogether. So not to pick on any particular venue, because I'm not picking on anything. They're the ones that are picking on me monitoring. But the truth of the matter is, inside of 7-Eleven are third parties that are in relevant position, and they're monitoring with communication devices, and they are a part of the P.O.C. as well. Just with regard to the venues that are open, they're gang stalking at the Bank of America, stalking in that drive-through line with regard to maintaining all manner of presence in a manner that makes it appear as though they're engaging in something other than just sitting around doing what they think stalkers look like they're doing. You look like a stalker in the engineered light. You look like a stalker under the fake sun. You look like a stalker where the Ontario Police Department are engaged in monitoring, and I'm documenting. You're in relevant position. You look like a freaking stalker. The demons lack to understand this, and they're going to be prosecuted based on their not only their intellectual impotence, in other words, their inferiority, the stupidity with which they're targeting a federal prosecutor, the whistleblower, the one who is, I am literally here to expose it. Their inability to understand the ways in which they're going to be prosecuted through their demonic and the use of their satanic illusions that they surround other people with and think that nobody's supposed to understand it and that it's impossible or impervious to a prosecution, and it's not. It's not. You look like demons and you look like stalkers in the specific environment, and there is nothing superseding that. Nothing superseding it. It is currently 10:34 p.m. This is P.O.C. And that's the Ontario Police engaging in what is an unlawful threat, obstruction of justice. The Ontario Police is being disbanded. They are speaking through the people of the state. It's vicarious conduct on behalf of the state. They share placement in the environment. They're stalking me with light on behalf of the Ontario Police that maintain presence. That's why they flew right over the building while the people of the state are engaging in what is obstruction of justice, harassing while you're documenting the gang stalker that's seeking to murder and kidnap you. That's the whole purpose of stalking me with light. That's the whole purpose of maintaining criminal presence on behalf of the police that are gang stalking. That's P.O.C. And the entity is gang stalking right now. The entire time that I'm documenting, the Ontario Police are still monitoring. As clearly as you hear the entity crossing path via traffic, they're stalking. They're at 323 West G Street, stalking with light in the path, obsessively monitoring, and the Ontario Police Department are as well. The Ontario Police are being disbanded. Heavy documentation again on another day. I believe it's 62 videos of the entity stalking me by the Ontario Police Department acting directly. And this is post the kidnapping on from May 29th to June 3rd, 62 videos. This is ongoing daily documentation since June 3rd, post the kidnapping. But I have years of documentation of the Ontario Police being demon-possessed and being engaged in what is criminal monitoring, federal stalking under Title 18, gang stalking. Years of documentation, 62 videos since June 3rd, post the kidnapping, which is merely highlighting who's going to federal prison. Nathan Morgan, C. Torres, L. Martinez, and B. Hook. They're going to federal prison. So is Corporal Tedeschi, gang stalking with his partner at Starbucks today, engaging in criminal summoning with this population, because that's who they're pulling over. And just like I stated in that video at Starbucks, that they're going to be stalking me at the TABOR Professional Building, this is exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what they've been doing for years. And those demons engaged in kidnapping on May 29th are going to federal prison. Another group of demons with the Ontario Police committing kidnapping, they're going to federal prison. And the entire department is being disbanded. That's P.O.C. The entity stalking in the path with the people, that's light activity, and sounding what is loud popping. It's the entity is engaging in what is audible activity in doing so. These are the, again, that defiance is with regard to the mental illness. The entity is going to be disbanded, period. The entity is mentally ill. The entity is still obsessively stalking, monitoring my vagina, and they can be as loud and defiant. They can provide as much wealth of evidence as they want. It's going going to result in what is an inevitable disbanding. Mike Lorenz is permanently done with law enforcement. That's the conclusion. That demon's not going anywhere else to ever be engaged in law enforcement. That's the conclusion. So as much evidence as the entity wants to provide me, I'm going to take it because I'm here to prosecute. The case is already done, but like a diligent prosecutor, everything you want to give to me, I'm going to use it to prosecute you. And it's also going to be used to diagnose you. Mike Lorenz is done with law enforcement as I continuously document that entire department gang stalking. That he's done with law enforcement, and so is that whole department. They're being disbanded. And they can pop firecrackers and act like they're shooting guns at me all they want. They're being disbanded. Their mental illness is put on full display. That's what you're witnessing. And they're hostile and they harass because they've lost in their satanic wage with regard to targeting and in order to sacrifice. No, I'm not being sacrificed. You've sacrificed your career. You've sacrificed your liberty because you're going to federal prison. It is currently 10:38 p.m. This is P.O.C. (10:39 p.m.) That's the highly unintelligent criminal activity to be used against the City of Ontario, the people of the state who are in the shoes of the City of Ontario and the Ontario Police Department that's being disbanded. The Alaska Airlines that you saw taking off over the Shiro's Liquor at the B&G Plaza, which there's no terminals over there, so you're not rising in elevation taking off from the terminals over the Shiro's Liquor at Hope Boulevard and Plum. Nonetheless, like I stated, at that location, which is a far deviation, the entity engaged in, again, you're not taking off perpetually, so you're rising up in elevation and then you're dipping down back low to fly northwest farther away from the Shiro's Liquor, where Alaska Airlines engaged in a poor imitation of a takeoff over the Shiro's Liquor on Hope Boulevard to fly over 325 West G Street in perfect alignment with me. And the entity does that as I am beginning to record. So that is the criminal conduct that the people of the state whose license plate I'm about to read right now are engaging in. They're gang stalking with the City of Ontario in the same manner that you just heard, using commercial planes, gang stalking with the amplified audible activity that you hear in the background, pursuant to real-time knowledge about what I'm doing on the phone. And then you're going to listen to the podcast again about that psychopath that's engaging in what is threatening violence, chasing me down in the parking lot while I'm repeatedly telling him to stay away from me, stop following me, and stop harassing me because of assumptions that he's making about what I'm doing on my phone, which is none of his business, and it's also not a violation of the law. The following license plates are engaged in gang stalking as I am being followed, gang stalk, going from place to place, and that is from the Andy's Burgers back to the back to Starbucks, and then here to the TABOR Professional Building. And the entity is gang stalking as an entity in doing so. And that is the following third parties. And this is, again, the Ontario International Airport engaging what is the very obvious. It's silly what the entity is doing. And this is, again, they're very unintelligent. There's a lot of them, but being a lot of unintelligent people together does not equal intelligence. It doesn't equal superiority. It doesn't equal smart. When you have a lot of unsmart people acting together, that doesn't make you smart. When you have a lot, that means a lot of unsmart people are getting in big trouble. And big trouble is a federal prosecution, disbanding, civil and criminal prosecution, federal prison for a lot of people, and removal from public office, especially for those in the City of Ontario. The entity that's gang stalked with the City of Ontario, this is the people of the state that are engaging in this. License 8WRT234, gang stalking at the Starbucks, pacing in and out of the bathroom and Engineer Light, where the Ontario Police Department are engaged in gang stalking at that Starbucks as well, in concert with the people of the state. Corporal Tadosky and his partner engaging in federal stalking, monitoring me while they commit a traffic stop, which is the criminal engagement in the elements of monitoring maliciously underway in the specific environment. And that environment you're never supposed to be aware of, and that way you are never suspicious of criminal monitoring by a police, which is evidence of stalking and criminal surveillance, including by communication devices and in concert even with the demons that they're pulling over. Every aspect of the case against the state of California is already established, including the fact that the people of the state that they are pulling over, relying upon and maintaining some sort of appearance of legitimacy. There's no appearance of legitimacy. The case against the people of the state is already established. The people of the state are gang stalking. The people of the state are engaged in what is harassment while they're harassing you pursuant to knowledge that you're documenting them. This is what the Ontario police are relying on when they commit the federal offense of criminal summoning, for which you're going to federal prison. And Corporal Tadosky is going to federal prison while he is gang stalking with the people of the state, doing so while he is monitoring monitoring me. I'm the focal point in the specific environment where he's conducting a traffic stop in Engineer Light. He initiates that traffic stop while I am documenting inside of the cafe, where these people, these demons who are stalking with amplified popping noises, these demons that are hostile and harassing and know exactly what I'm saying, know what I'm doing, know the status of my vagina in the bathroom while they're monitoring me together, they're the ones engaging what is harassment pursuant to what is demonstrating mental illness, psychopathic behavior. When you are a hostile stalker, hostile because you are being exposed for criminal conduct that you have no business engaging in the first place, and you're also delusional with regard to the evidence that's already in existence, and you persist as though someone's forgotten it, as though it's going to be disregarded, or as though your acts of violence and harassment are going to supersede that evidence, because it's not. That's the psychopathic behavioral pattern of the demons who are going to federal prison for it. And Corporal Tedosky is gang stalking, while impossible light activity that the people in the state that are gang stalking on G Street right now are committing. So it's happening inside of Starbucks, and as I document that as it happens, this is when Corporal Tedosky and his demon-possessed partner of the Ontario Police Department turn on the lights of their vehicles at Starbucks. So they're stalking, they're monitoring me with impossible light, and as I document it on my phone, which is a demon stalking with activity, that demon happens to be driving a police vehicle. He engages in what is a traffic stop. And who is he stopping? The demons who are stalking with impossible light activity with them. The people of the state. And that's the video that I captured at 507 North Euclid Avenue. Corporal Tedosky is gang stalking in concert with the Ontario Police Department, who's stalking in helicopter right now, just like I stated in that video that the Ontario Police Department would be doing later, just like they're gang stalking every single day, and like I've been documenting since 2018, 2019. All right, the entity is engaging in this P.O.C, and it's a very poor imitation of what legitimate law enforcement looks like. They look nothing like a legitimate law enforcement. They look like mentally ill, their behavioral health is put at the center, speaking to what are unstable and wildly corrupt, maniacal and highly demented actors who are feigning being a legitimate law enforcement agency while they are stalking somebody who has been put in their line of vision in order for them to target me so that I can expose them and prosecute them and have them removed. That's why those demons don't understand why they picked the wrong person. I am the wrong person. All right, Corporal Tedosky is going to federal prison because while I'm documenting him, speaking of him, the entity arrives in helicopter. That's exactly what they're doing when they communicate an unlawful threat pursuant to real-time surveillance. He's going to federal prison while I document him on video. He's going to federal prison while I refer to him now, and the demons of the Ontario Police are still stalking, arriving again, crossing path in helicopter, keeping me under surveillance and all of my evidence under surveillance. And everything that you're hearing in the background is relevant to the mental illness of the demon-possessed gang stalkers, who are as maniacal as their activity that they create. They're as maniacal and psychopathic and I would say wacky as the light activity. They are as wacky as the amplified audible activity. They have very sick minds. They are a threat to themselves and the public. And this sick population is being exposed and being prosecuted. The Ontario Police Department is gang stalking with the people of the state at Starbucks. And this third party license plate 8WRT234 is gang stalking me at that Starbucks. And I'm documenting them inside. And at 9:59 p.m., I am documenting while the entity sounds amplified train activity. All right. And I'm being targeted, stalking as an entity as I walk from Starbucks to this location, the TABOR Professional Building. License 41366U3. License 6CLZ885. License 6MQC620. And the people that state that I'm reciting their license plates, they're all stalking with the Ontario Police Department that you hear right now, present, sounding helicopter activity, arriving in my line of vision to communicate a threat that the Ontario Police Department is stalking me by helicopter activity, in the same way that they are when Nathan is approaching me as though he has some sort of authority while I'm in violating no law whatsoever, and also while he knows he's being documented, which is exactly what you're going to do. You're going to document domestic terrorists, you're going to document sex offenders who are gang stalking you, and you are on the right side of the law in doing that. And while the entity is still gang stalking as you document, those are the very ones that are going to federal prison, and that police department is being disbanded. That's flying over that gym at 130 West G Street while Nathan is approaching me, gang stalking me in doing so. This is at 7AUN765. That's a license plate on Laurel, where the entity is gang stalking at that parking lot where Nathan is present, and the entity is molesting me with light at a great distance away from that parking lot. And the entity is doing so with the Ontario Police Department, who you hear stalking in the path at the TABOR Professional Building. Corporal Tedosky is going to federal prison. In the Ontario Police, they're psychopathic personality disorders. They're mental illness, in other words. It is not exposed. They are unhinged. They are very much triggered. And my documentation is what is helpful for you in recognizing their mental illness. And it is shared. It's not individualized with this unstable creature that's flying the helicopter. It's shared. Corporal Tedosky is mentally ill as well. He's a psychopath. He is demon possessed and he is gang stalking me. The malice of criminal summoning is your evidence of his mental illness. And it's also evidence of his criminal engagement and gang stalking. But I want to be clear, the Ontario Police Department share this condition. They are all demon-possessed. Every single last person that's employed by the Ontario Police Department. They are demon-possessed, and their mental illness is exhibited by their conduct where they are triggered by what it is that I state, and I'm speaking the truth. And they're also gang stalking me while I speak the truth, and that's why there's the absence of coincidence that they're stalking in helicopter as I document the police that's always stalking me in helicopter. This is P.O.C. License 7A UN 765. As you hear the helicopter activity, this is the Ontario Police Department that they're. And the people of the state that are also gang stalking, it includes, again, license 41366U3, gang stalking with the Ontario Police, that's flying over my head right now at 10:49 p.m. License 6CLZ885, gang stalking with the Ontario Police that you hear flying over my head right now. License 9MQC620, gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department. 7AUN 765, gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department. License 8TXM 696 is gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department at 130 West G Street. That's the gym where Nathan is gang stalking me with this Ontario Police that flies over that gym while Nathan is engaging in what is harassing me with the intent to obstruct justice, while he knows, because he's engaged in federal stalking with the Ontario Police Department, that he's being documented and it's not in violation of the law. You're going to document the police that are criminally monitoring you like the Ontario Police Department are. Right here. This is exactly what you're going to document. And this is why the third parties in that parking lot are going to federal prison. License 9TUJ106 is engaging in harassment with the Ontario Police that's flying in circles right now. They're engaging in harassment together at the venue where Nathan and this third party that's chasing me down in the parking lot are harassing me while and doing so on behalf of the Ontario Police who are gang stalking with them, gang stalking vicariously through them, and also gang stalking directly because they fly over in helicopter like they are now over the venue while they are harassing me in the parking lot. License 902RA, that's a handicap plate, gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department that is flying in circles right now at 10:50 p.m. I want you to hear the helicopter. This is, again, the demons of the Ontario Police exhibiting severe mental illness, while the people of the state, they're going to federal prison for gang stalking with this police department. And it's inspired by what it is that I'm documenting. And the people of the state are harassing me while they know exactly what I'm documenting. And they are asking me questions. Are you taking pictures of my license plate? And they're exactly aware of what it is that I'm documenting. And while you're gang stalking, you are not going to utter a word to the target individual, which is an unlawful threat by the government. And they're also asking questions with the intent to threaten while the police are flying in circles around me. They know exactly what I'm documenting, and that's the outward demonstration of mental illness. That's a psychopath. A license plate. Lights harassing me with the Ontario Police that are flying in circles right now. License 6YFB598. And they are doing so, as I'm documenting, at 10:05 p.m. And the Ontario Police is gang stalking in concert with them while they are stalking in the path with light activity. And this Ontario Police Department is engaged in threatening me in concert with the people of the state while I document them on podcasts. And the Ontario Police is openly admitting to criminal monitoring again on another night. They're going to be disbanded. P.O.C. This is outward demonstration of mental illness. And this is, again, remaining. You're hearing the helicopter remain because they're not going anywhere. They're not patrolling over everyone else. They're patrolling over me and stalking me, and so are the people of the state. It's not traffic. They're pacing around me, and this is what you're seeing under the fake sun, pacing around me, stalking as an entire city. And as you hear that prolonged helicopter activity, license 6YFB598, they're going to federal prison. They're harassing me while the Ontario Police Department are criminally monitoring me through them in concert with them, and they're harassing me as I document that, which is exactly what you're going to do when the entity is targeting you with the intent to murder and kidnap you. And kidnapping is accomplished through criminal defamation. And when the entity is unsuccessful in criminally defaming you because you're documenting their criminal activity, the entity seeks to threaten and harass you like license 6YFB598 and the Ontario Police Department are doing right now. And that's why they're going to federal prison. It's an unlawful threat posed to your life. And the entity is gang stalking by helicopter because the psychopath that's flying that helicopter, which is demonstrative of the mental illness shared by the entire police department, including Corporal April Tedeschi, okay? The entity is engaging in what is threatening you, harassing you, psychologically torturing you by helicopter, and that's supposed to stop me from documenting. Because the entity engages in a pattern of seeking to obstruct justice, the Ontario Police is being disbanded because of their pattern of kidnapping me, seeking to obstruct justice, their pattern of monitoring my vagina in the bathroom with third parties like License 6YFB 598, their pattern of engaging in what is harassment and threatening conduct such as gang stalking with the people of the state by engaging in criminal summoning all around me while they're gang stalking me with the people of the state in doing so. Their pattern of following me around every day like I've been documenting since the kidnapping that this department committed on June 3rd by helicopter every single day. That's why I have 62 videos of it. And this podcast video is adding, this is number 63. The entity is engaging in what is gang stalking. This is the department that came into Starbucks this morning. The overweight Latino male, he's going to federal prison as well. This is giving you context about what the Ontario Police Department is always doing, which is stalking me. I am the focal point. I am the target that the demon-possessed Ontario Police Department are criminally monitoring. They're gang stalking me as a police department, and this police department is being disbanded. Again, the entity is gang stalking with real-time knowledge of what I'm documenting. That's relevant when I'm documenting the people and you hear me recite in real time that the Ontario Police are driving down Euclid Avenue or driving crossing path on Hope Boulevard, or they're flying crossing path in helicopter when I'm capturing video of the fake sun over the Starbucks. They're stalking me. The specific environment proves that. And also the Ontario Police that are flying in circles as you heard them right now for a prolonged period, and like they still are. They're speaking to what is an admission to targeting, and they're very foolish. Their mental illness is so pervasive that they are lacking the ability to appreciate the fact that a court is going to listen to this, and they're going to be prosecuted with this evidence of targeting an American citizen in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. And this is what Tracy Banks is gang stalking me with the Ontario Police, and this is who she kidnapped me with the Ontario Police, while she maintains a criminally procured conservatorship that is remaining a secret while she seeks to defame by gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department. Then that is unpersuasive, it's unlawful, and it's also a manufactured device with the intent to steal property that Tracy Banks is not getting. She's not keeping it. She's not going to retain it. And the Ontario Police is being disbanded for seeking to steal property from me, and with Tracy Banks, who maintains a secretly and fraudulently and criminally procured conservatorship where there is no such mental illness on my behalf whatsoever. And the courts, the state violated the law in even permitting her to have a conservatorship because it is outside of how a conservatorship, a legitimate one, a lawful one, is created. I had no idea about it. I have no idea about the property that the entity, while the entity is on paper and behind my back defaming me, and simultaneously, this is what the state is not speaking about, while they're defaming me on paper secretly, is the fact that they're gang stalking me the whole time. But my evidence is what coexists while the entity, including the Ontario Police Department, are engaged in what is gang stalking me the entire time. The entity is exhibiting, by the way, this is what is so ironic, the entity that is gang stalking the people of the state and the Ontario Police Department are exhibiting severe mental illness while they engage in what is doing things such as flying in circles around me all over the city, following me around everywhere that I'm going in the city, following me from place to place, doing things like entering into venues where I'm located just so that they can be in my presence, while I'm doing nothing other than documenting the fact that they're stalking and that they're going to be prosecuted severely because they represent a police department that's stalking, and that's an unlawful threat. And it's also inhumane while the entity is stalking in things such as helicopters, which is relevant to psychological torture. This department is exhibiting severe mental illness contrary to the mental illness that the entity sought to manufacture by gang stalking an American citizen that it thought could not prove that. All right, this is well beyond proof, beyond a reasonable doubt, that the Ontario Police are stalking. So they're still flying in circles right now as of 10:56 p.m. Yeah, I want you to hear that, because this is what license 6YFB 598 is going to federal prison for, engaging in what is harassment with the Ontario Police Department while they're gang stalking in that parking lot on behalf of this department that's engaging in criminal surveillance. License 7EPW 888. License 9EMX 445. License 8DVX090, gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department, who are still flying in circles over me while I'm documenting its co-defendants who are gang stalking in that parking lot and all together threatening and harassing me and chasing me down by one of those third parties because of their hostility toward being documented. And this is the same demonic spirit this is exactly what I told you, that same demonic spirit that's exhibiting severe mental illness because of hostility for criminal conduct that they engage in. You resort to flying in circles in helicopter over my head, which is a communication of a threat, hostility based on criminal conduct that you are engaging in, and that you're also being documented as you're engaging in it, and you're going to suffer the consequences for it. But a maniacal psychopath is not rational, is not reasonable, is not logical, and is not sensible whatsoever. And so I'm documenting this now, and it's going to be used to put Corporal Tedosky in federal prison, to put Corey Watson in federal prison, Nathan Morgan, B. Hook, L. Martinez. You have the C. Torres that are kidnapping, the entity that is gang stalking R. Nunn, the entity that's gang stalking by Jason Knighton, Lester Keys, S. Patty, A. Morris, Corporal Kemp. All the demons that have engaged in kidnapping, they're all going to federal prison. The demons that I'm documenting of the Ontario Police by license plate, when I'm documenting their badge numbers, the demon engaging in criminal summoning at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts on June 11, 2025, in Engineer Light, while this demon's shadows are on both sides of his person, and he refuses to provide public information, which is his badge number and his name, while he is gang stalking me with the same police department that just flew over my head for over 5 minutes because I'm documenting them and they know it. He's going to federal prison. Every single last one that I have documented. This is exposing an entirely corrupt police department that is acting in furtherance of murder and kidnapping, and thought that they were going to gang stalk me out of property that belongs to me, while Tracy Banks thought that being with a police department that's gang stalking me is going to get her property that belongs to me through a corrupt means of a conservatorship, where there is no actual mental illness on my part, and where she is in no position whatsoever to even have one over me. And the government is violating the law by her even being able to get one through fraud, through what is the gang stalking system that's in operation in California. And this is why you have a police department flying in circles over my head, which I'm documenting on podcast for the world to witness. And it's also for the thorough and comprehensive prosecution of the people of the state. People like license plate 8DVX090, you're going to federal prison. They're all harassing me in this parking lot while they are engaged in federal stalking, know exactly what you're documenting. And the entity that's gang stalking you, they're going to shut their mouth and they're going to be documented. And if you speak, it's going to be used against you. It's an unlawful threat. The demons that are flying in helicopters are speaking through them. Every syllable that comes out of your mouth, they engaged in chasing me down in that parking lot. They engaged in threatening me with the Ontario Police that flew over my head while Nathan is speaking to me, monitoring me while I'm violating no law, but the people in the parking lot are engaging in acts of violence toward me, and they're targeting me while they have no facts on the surface, because everybody wants to just focus on the surface. Well, on the surface, you have no idea what I'm doing on my phone, and you're making unfounded assumptions like a paranoid schizophrenic about what I'm doing on my phone. They're going to federal prison for that, because the reality is, the substance of the matter is, they know exactly what I'm doing on my phone. And in the same way that they know when my panties are down, when they're monitoring my vagina in the bathroom, they know exactly who I am when they're stalking and molesting me with impossible light inside of every single venue, when they're all stalking me under the fake sun every single day when I'm documenting it, when they're stalking amongst amplified audible activity, which is a supernatural phenomenon as well, when they're all pacing around me like the demon-possessed population that they are, with the police that just flew over in circles over my head for over 5 minutes for you to witness that I don't make up anything. And you're going to federal prison. I'm not making that up either. They're going to federal prison. License 8DVX090, the people of the state, you're going to federal prison. This is what you must do to disincentivize the gang conduct of the population and the police who are targeting American citizens together. They're murdering American citizens together. The people of the state take the life of the target individual, and the gang stalking police department conduct an investigation that is never resolved. They conduct an investigation that seeks to establish suicide, that establishes that the targeted individual weighs some sort of threat, and that's why they lost their life, or they were subject to some mysterious murder, or they disappeared. And this is what the entity is doing when they're gang stalking. They're kidnapping them and placing them in facilities where those facilities are engaged in gang stalking and psychological torture, like the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, like Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. You're going to federal prison for it, for what I just documented. License 8DVX090, and the entity is highly unintelligent and inferior in every regard for giving me that evidence to prosecute them with, even though I didn't even need it. But since I don't have to go in history and remind you about what they did yesterday or the day before that or the last time that I was kidnapped, I can refer to this right here, because this is what they're doing in concert. Gang stalking, they know exactly who I am and where I'm at, and that's why the police are flying in circles over my head for 5 minutes while I document third party with license plate 8DVX XO90, who was engaging in what is audible activity, outwardly demonstrating mental illness of a psychopathic nature, monitoring me and my device, knowing exactly what I am, who I am, while they're molesting me with light, which is the pattern of conduct for criminal monitoring, with the police that's flying in circles over that venue and flying in circles over me right now while I'm documenting them, like you just heard, for over 5 minutes. That's the P.O.C. They're going to federal prison. The entities engaged in this P.O.C., and this is how you are disincentivizing that group conduct. This is what is empowering corrupt police departments like the Ontario Police, who are going to be disbanded. License 7GFZ425. And the audacity for the police to engage in psychological torture and this sort of violence, stalking and harassment and terrorism using helicopters. And they are doing that in the face of being documented, all because they want you to stop talking about something like you control something. They're delusional. You're going to prison for that. They are delusional. They're also delusional because they keep doing it and I keep documenting it. Obviously, it's not working. Obviously, it's not disincentivizing me from documenting. You're going to federal prison. Their mental illness is always at the forefront. You're always able to see the evidence of it while they engage in the pattern of conduct, while they engage in their tactics that do not work against me. And it is showing, reflecting back, severe mental illness on the part of the gang stalker. License 8Y68784. License 4LTP773. License 9FAY188. License 7JVP431. And again, I want to give you the license plate of the third party in particular that is hopping out of the car and chasing me down. You hear him calling me names. He's approaching me in an aggressive manner and calling me names and epithets. And this hostility is unfounded, even absent the facts of gang stalking. This is unfounded hostility. Even if somebody did take a picture of your license plate, but again, based on the surface level assessment. Since this entity is relying on the surface level assessment of the situation of everything, meaning they're not gang stalking because they're not looking at you and they don't know you and they're not talking about to you and they're not acknowledging a fake sun and they're not acknowledging the impossible light that's all over the place and all over the ceiling, and they're not acknowledging the helicopter activity. They're not acknowledging anything with regard to the fake moon at night. They're not acknowledging the upright and multiple shadows because they don't acknowledge it and it's not happening. Then they're not gang stalking. And that alternate universe, the entities engaging in what is the pattern of conduct, but while you're just going to look at it at the surface level, we're going to look at it from their vantage point, the game that they're playing, their own game that they're losing at. The surface level is that you have no idea and you have no information to assume what I'm doing on my phone, and you are behaving like the paranoid schizophrenic that the entity sought to falsely depict me as. But I don't go around making unfounded assumptions. I don't go around talking about, oh, you're gang stalking me. Oh, you're chasing me down. This is what the entity, you didn't get that from me. I'm documenting you and I'm not addressing you. I'm not accusing you. I'm not approaching you. Well, I do that with the police because I'm going to document them. They're fully engaged in but they're harassing and kidnapping. So there's a basis there. The entities engaging in what is the pattern of conduct, and the people of the state don't have that. So you're making allegations and you're doing so absent any information. You're behaving like the paranoid schizophrenic, that the target individual is the one that's supposed to look like the paranoid schizophrenic. It's not working. It's not working. It's not working out very well. This is their own game. It's not working. And it also doesn't help when your mental illness is put on full display, when the pattern of conduct, now we're getting into substance, when you know the pattern of conduct, and then you're going to listen to their audible activity. Are you taking pictures of my license plate? Wait. She's taking pictures of my license plate. Yeah, she is. They're taking pictures of my license plate. And then rapidly within seconds, you have somebody approaching like they're Debo security in the parking lot while the Ontario police fly over your head. This is how you rapidly escalate into a kidnapping. You're going to federal prison for that. It's P.O.C. That's classic P.O.C. You're going to federal prison. The entities engaging in that pattern of conduct, this is exactly what the gang conduct of the people of the state. You're not going to engage in and aid the police in kidnapping. You're not going to engage in what is harassing while you're gang stalking. You're not going to engage in any method of what is obstruction of justice and think that you can, but you're not avoiding federal prison. You're going straight to federal prison. You're going straight to federal prison. That whole exchange with that demon chasing me down in the parking lot and calling me names, you can call me names all you want. You're going to federal prison, though. It's audible activity and it's harassment by the entity. It's audible activity upon documentation. So you're harassing me. You're a threat. This is a threat to my life, my safety, my well-being. This is the entity that calls the police for no reason. This is the entity that makes up information when they call the police. This is the entity that's engaging in what is keeping you under surveillance and then feigning malicious, feigning the fact that you're being documented for gang stalking that person that you're calling the police on. And you're calling the police that you're gang stalking me in concert with. All manner of psychopathic behavior there. The conspiracy of gang stalking as they engage in it together. That's the mental illness of the psychopaths. That's psychopathic behavior. Okay, the entity is engaging in this, and the license plate of the third party, again, that is engaging in what is threatening my life and safety, is license 6YFB598. And part of his audible activity that you can hear is that he's stating, we have you on camera. So he's associating himself with this venue. So he may very well be an employee there, a third party employee. Nathan was speaking to him quite comfortably not that it matters because they're all strangers, but they're all linked up in the spirit and they're all targeting me together. So you'll have strangers that are best friends like they've known each other forever. So it does not matter what race they are, by the way. The demon possessed that are targeting, they come across all color lines. There's no discrimination amongst the demon possessed that are targeting together. Okay, there's no racism amongst those that are engaging in what is gang stalking. Those demonic spirits are unified while they're gang stalking together. But nonetheless, Nathan is referring to him. So this may be somebody associated with that the gym venue, which I'm quite confident that he is, because he's stating that we have you on camera. Ontario Police is crossing path. He's stating that we have you on camera, and so this is the entity that is speaking to as though he's associated with that venue, like he works there or something, because that's not a comment that somebody that's just sitting in the parking lot is going to make, and you're going to use all these statements to prosecute. But nonetheless, it doesn't even matter where he works. This is all information that's not going to remain mysterious. The Ontario Police is gang stalking again while they're crossing path on G Street. These are the psychopaths that are on full display. So it's like walking around in the nude. They're fully exposed, and they're stalking in plain view for the federal government to be aware. So all my evidence, all my podcasts, everything that I'm narrating, the government is openly stalking somebody, and it's not a secret, and it's not exposed, and they know that they are being openly documented for stalking somebody that is fully aware of it, meaning you were stalking with the intent to do it secretly. You were stalking with the intent to make that person look crazy while you continuously were stalking them, and that doesn't work. And you are openly stalking while they are publishing it on the internet, exposing you in order to protect themselves, by the way, while you are still doing it with full knowledge of the fact that it's not secret and all of the facts don't make anybody look like they're imagining anything. You are fully exposed as a gang stalker, and you're doing it. That's relevant to analyzing the stalker and the threat waged by that government that is engaging in that criminal surveillance. Because you're crossing path driving on G Street, you're stalking. That's all they're doing as an entity. They're stalking me 24 hours a day. And this is again relevant. The entity was just flying over my head for 5 minutes straight. And then you're driving by. It's the same department. So just want to point that out. And the entity is doing so pursuant to knowledge about everything that I'm stating. And they do the same thing while they're monitoring my vagina. This is why the Ontario Police is being disbanded, because my vagina is not a legitimate interest of that department. And they're obsessed with it. They're obsessed with it. All right. License 6YFB598 is gang stalking with the Ontario Police. This is the third party that is engaged in what is chasing me down in the parking lot, engaging in a psychopath, asking questions that they know the answer to while they're monitoring my device. And they're also monitoring with the Ontario Police, who are threatening me in concert with them because they're hostile, that they're being documented. And hostility to documentation, you can be as hostile as you want, but you're going to be silent. You're going to be silent or you're going to federal prison. And this is the way that any prosecution is going to go for an American citizen. This is establishing precedent. And this is checking the government that's engaging in this level of public corruption and is bullying American citizens that are silenced. They lose their life and their liberty. They're subject to kidnapping. When they are the ones that are being wronged, they're the ones that are being targeted, and they're the ones that are being conspired against. And all the gang stalkers do is they make up whatever they want, and they tell the police that are gang stalking with them, and the targeted individual has no voice, and there is nobody to report it to. They're being targeted. This is why you're being met with federal prison. And by the way, it's gang stalking with the police. So literally, it's the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct. But what you're engaging in, it's the government that you're documenting. The government will under no circumstances stop you from reporting it for targeting you in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. That's ridiculous. You're going to prison for that. Okay, it's currently 11:11 p.m., an excellent time. Wanted to document those license plates, and it's notable that the entity is stalking in helicopter in the duration of time, so you can count. This is going to be played back in court. All right. This is ongoing evidence of what I've been stating, what I've been documenting, and what I established a long time ago before the entity kidnapped me with Tracy Banks on May 29, 2025. Criminal summoning is a function of the corrupt police departments that are relying on the people of the state, because the police are relying on some sort of basis, consent, to be welcomed. In other words, you have to summon them to your home. They have to have facts, and they have to have probable cause. They have to have some lawful basis. This is all maliciously underway, where the public corruption is what is the impetus with regard to the pattern of conduct. So with regard to public corruption and the pattern of conduct being underway, this is the corruption of the police department that's relying on the gang stalking population to summon the gang stalking police, who are gang stalking a person together, hence criminal summoning. Criminal summoning is also, they don't necessarily have to call the police on the targeted individual. They just call the police to the venue. And by call, that's an illusion. They're not actually necessary. They don't have to make the call. They're engaging in surveillance. They make the calls because they're masquerading as a legitimate law enforcement agency. They need the records establishing, oh yeah, they made this call, and they know it's being recorded. This entirely corrupt system is simultaneously existing. Okay? So that's what's relevant about that. It's entirely malicious. I mean, a diabolical level of malice. And the Ontario police giving me evidence of flying over my head right here at the TABOR Professional Building, after flying over me in the presence of Nathan at the gym, while I'm documenting the people of the state by license plate. That is damning to the people of the state. And it is damning to the Ontario police, who clearly don't care that they're being disbanded. They don't. They're giving me video after video after video, podcast after podcast, with regard point by point by point, as to why this is an inevitable disbanding, as to why this is exposing and how it is revealing mental illness, actual mental illness, as opposed to the propaganda that we're told about in this country about mental illness, where it is that which can be manufactured, concocted by being targeted, is not mental illness. When you can place an American citizen in a circumstance that looks like supposedly as mental illness has been defined, that's not mental illness. It is looking just like, by the way, people who are being targeted and psychologically tortured, and then they are acting out in one way, like a normal, fragile human being would and should, because you're not designed to be subject to targeting like this, and voyeurism and psychological torture. Human beings aren't designed to do that. And it's satanic as they do that. They're demons that are doing that. And it's a corrupt government that's doing that. And then they call it mental illness. Okay, this is the entity that's going to be disbanded. The Ontario police are gang stalked with the Ontario International Airport. These unintelligent demons that don't have any other way clearly to engage in the P.O.C. other than sounding train that would never be heard throughout the whole city, and planes that are not taking off over 325 West G Street. Alaska Airlines that's flying over the Shiro's Liquor is not then dipping down lower to fly farther northwest and then take off again, rising in elevation over 325 West G Street. This is open stalking, and it is as open and plain as flying over my head in helicopter for 5.5 minutes straight. That's P.O.C. This is the entity that is, again, entirely exposed and entirely illegitimate. And there's no secret aspect with regard to this pattern of conduct. And the entity's motive for gangs, one of the motives, is stealing property from me. And the entity lost sorely. Okay, it's an abysmal failure, like I stated, under all circumstances, with regard to trying to make a federal prosecutor make the whistleblower look like they're mentally ill by gang stalking, because that's the whole point of gang stalking, is trying to create the illusion of mental illness. They're slinging light. They're stalking in planes in a manner and method that is clearly obvious that you're targeting. They're doing so with helicopter, as I'm documenting in video number 63, by helicopter by that same police department, where they're engaging in what is clearly targeting. This is the entity that is failing in creating the illusion of mental illness, and this is the entity that is clearly targeting, like the allegations and the evidence supports. And this is another night of documenting that, and those that I'm documenting all day long coming into the Starbucks, gang stalking as the police. You're going to federal prison. They were doing so pursuant to my documentation of the people of the state. They're doing so while in the same way that they were tonight, that they are tonight, as I document the people of the state flying over my head in helicopter equals federal prison. The entity gang stalking by criminal summoning, Corporal Tadosky, gang stalking with the people of the state, engaged in real-time documentation, and then engaged in using criminal summoning in order to stalk in the path with light and monitor me, harass, psychologically torture, while the police are always maintaining presence around you, while they are stalking in the path with the people of the state. And they're doing so pursuant to real-time surveillance. And this is what the entity is doing in concert with the city of Ontario, that is flying planes and helicopters where I am at in the specific environment environment where the fake sun stays over me all day long and the entity knows exactly who I am and they're targeting, where the entity maintains engineered light, supernatural means of light all over the place. It's not sunlight and it's not headlights and it's not street lamps. It's engineered light where criminal surveillance is underway and they know exactly who I am. That's the evidence of knowledge as to who I am. They're not strangers. They are targeting, and the entity has failed abysmally with regard to trying to falsely depict the character of somebody that these psychopaths who are actually mentally ill, who are in fact stalking. Their mental illness is going to be diagnosed as a matter of law, and their criminal conduct is going to be prosecuted federally. The Ontario Police is being disbanded. All right, hashtag disbanding. Because this is what's happening. The Ontario Police Department is being disbanded. They're entirely illegitimate. And the entity is engaging in what is open and obvious criminal activity. And it is so obvious that the entity is, there is an overwhelming wealth of evidence, and it's used to document the rest of the state of California. But the entity is doing so, again, in real time. And that's also relevant to the prosecution of the people and relevant to the prosecution of the Ontario Police Department, specifically that department, because they've engaged in multiple kidnappings, and so has, don't forget, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department and the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. They're going to be prosecuted because this is the entity that's targeting together. Shannon Dykes is gang stalking as well. The entity is gang stalking. So is the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, the entity that is engaging in what is that pattern of conduct seeking to criminally defame. This is the same entity. So while I have 62 videos of the Ontario Police Department, Ontario Police isn't gang stalking American citizens by themselves. Clearly, I'm documenting that. And they're doing it with the corrupt actor, San Bernardino County. That is San Bernardino County Sheriff, San Bernardino County Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. They are gang stalking, and this unintelligent predator, the Ontario Police Department, provides evidence against everyone else, which I will be using. But I have evidence against the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, and I have the evidence against the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. I have the evidence against the people of the state. I have the evidence against multiple cities and counties engaging in the same exact P.O.C. This is the entity that is going to be prosecuted, and Ontario Police is being disbanded. And the evidence that the Ontario Police has provided to me, that overwhelming wealth of evidence that I didn't even need, flying over me for 5 minutes, I'll take that evidence because it's your evidence of stalking me like you are every other day and like you are when you were committing kidnapping on May 29th. The entity is engaging in this POC, and it's going to be used to prosecute its co-defendants. San Bernardino County Sheriff, San Bernardino County Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, the San Bernardino County Courthouse, Rancho Cucamonga Courthouse, gang stalking, Lisa Rogan, all right, Kara Hudson, the San Bernardino Courthouse in San Bernardino, California at the San Bernardino Justice Center, evading service of process, Thomas Garza. All right, this is the same entity engaging in that POC while the Ontario Police Department lacks self-control because a whole entity is going to be prosecuted besides that corrupt police department. And an inability to control yourself is exposing everybody else to that prosecution that has very severe and far-reaching consequences. This is the criminal system that those courts, those sheriff's departments, and those hospitals are engaging in together. This is what they're engaging in, gang stalking. All right, this is the entity that's going to be prosecuted comprehensively. And there is a body of evidence supporting it. And while I'm documenting it, the entity is going to be prosecuted for the prolonged engagement and the ongoing pattern of obstruction of justice, the impunity and malice, in other words, with which the government was targeting me in furtherance of murder and kidnapping and wanting to falsely depict my character, failing in doing so, but doing so, conspiring to do so to steal property that belongs to me. Property that belongs to me, property that's coming back to me, and property that's going to be returned to me. Okay? It is currently 11:20 p.m. This is evidence that's putting Jason Isaac Fields in federal prison. And this is evidence that's putting Tracy Banks in federal prison. The entity is gang stalking me with the police, and the police are the ones that are supposed to accomplish my murder. They're the ones that are supposed to accomplish kidnapping me. And this is why Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields, this two mother and son sex partnership, while they're targeting me together, these demons engage in what is maintaining a secret and a criminally procured fake marriage on paper that I know nothing about, while the government is gang stalking me with the police. And the entity that's maintaining a secret conservatorship pursuant to what is fraud and criminal activity while I'm being gang stalked by the police, which is what Tracy Banks is engaging in. And they're maintaining a fake conservatorship and a fake marriage on paper while I'm being gang stalked with the intent to murder and kidnap. And they fully sought to profit from, they have profited from, and that's why they're going to federal prison. But they intend to profit with regard to stealing everything. This is relevant to what the motive with the government that is permitting permitting fake marriage. This isn't a coincidence. The entity that's engaged in criminal activity using my name. I have never taken out a loan outside of my education loans. Never. Outside of purchasing a vehicle. And I purchase vehicles in my name. Anybody else doing that, they're fraud, engaging in fraud. I've never consented to it. I've never consented to anybody taking out any loans, PPP loans, business loans, any sort of personal loans. I've never done that. I financed my education and that's it. And none of these demons were paying for an education. So that would be unbeknownst to me while I'm being gang stalked. The government engaging in what is kidnapping me repeatedly while seeking to steal property from me, wanting to steal my property. This is the inspiration. This is the motive behind the gang stalking government. And that is clearly violating the law. While permitting fake marriages to me, permitting fake conservatorships over me, while gang stalking me with the Ontario police that provides a wealth of evidence about what the state of California's purpose in targeting me is in the first place. And while they do that, you need to know that they are demons. This is the demon possessed. This is demonic activity, and it is manifesting in criminal conduct and unprecedented prosecution. It is currently, by the way, 11:22 p.m. The Ontario police is still stalking in helicopter, and this is P.O.C. All right, this is just to show you the Ontario police is maintaining ongoing surveillance, pacing in the sky space, flying in circles around me like you heard on podcast for over 5 minutes, and is still engaging what is an unlawful threat. This is a threat posed by the entity that is stalking in concert with the people of the state while they are driving impossible light moving across the walls. This is impossible light in this specific environment. This is that same specific signature. The people that say are gang stalking. This is my shadow appearing on the signage that's at a great distance away from me. The Ontario police are engaging what is demonic pacing in the specific environment. This is impossible light activity while I'm standing under light here. That's not going to create my shadow on that sign at a distance away. This is where the people of the state are stalking. This is where the people of the state are living in the specific environment, gang stalking by residents. This is where the Ontario police are gang stalking while I'm documenting the people of the state. All right, and this is documented both on podcasts. This is where the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking as well, flying over 325 West G Street, clearly targeting as well with the Ontario Police Department. And this is what Corporal Tadowski is doing. It's criminal summoning. All right, and this is the same department that's engaging in what is criminal summoning with the people of the state that are stalking, and then they engage in together a traffic stop while they're engaging in the elements of monitoring, relevant positioning around me, light activity, and audible activity. It's criminal monitoring when they're engaging what is a traffic stop with the demons who are gang stalking. It's P.O.C. And Corporal Tadowski is going to federal prison, him and his partner, while they were gang stalking with the people of the state. The same demons that are stalking with light, the same demons in the environment, pacing all around in the impossible environment. This is where they're driving around pacing. They're driving an engineer light. They're monitoring with the Ontario police that's flying in circles over me, obsessed with me, stalking me, and monitoring my vagina all day long. Whatever restroom I use, that's where they're there, keeping my vagina under surveillance. This is why the Ontario police is being disbanded, and they're stalking, ongoing stalking in helicopter. P.O.C. The Ontario police flying over my head again, and it is again pacing back and forth. It's 11:28 p.m. Just ongoing gang stalking, ongoing stalking. This is going toward the mental illness. The police have already established as stalkers, and this is years of evidence of already establishing that. Not only are they stalking, which is already putting your mental illness at the forefront, but the entity is stalking while they are aware that it's being documented, and they're stalking as a corrupt police department. So this is relevant to, again, the sick mind state behind gang stalking police. That mental illness is a disqualifier, a permanent one from law enforcement. This is domestic terrorism. This is not just stalking. Yes, it's referred to as gang stalking, but this is domestic terrorism by the Ontario police, and this is the shared pattern of conduct by the police in California. This is what the Los Angeles Police Department is engaging in when I'm living and working in LA at Alvarado Gardens. It is domestic terrorism, and it is the demonstration of severe mental instability, and it is openly obvious criminal conduct by the police. It is the terrorism that the police are going to be disbanded for, because they're kidnapping while they're engaging in it, and they are doing it in environment again, in the environment where you can see my shadow over here. This is impossible light activity. See my hand? They're monitoring, and they're engaging in what is the psychopathic behavior of pacing in helicopter. And while that's what's relevant to what they're doing. That's called crossing a path. While the fake sun is over the top of my head, you're able to recognize that they're all stalking me together. While I have multiple shadows, This is relevant to why my shadow is appearing at a distance away on that sign. This is where the entity is flying in circles around me, repeatedly flying over my head. This is the same crime scene everywhere in the city. And this is not the normal light activity. This is not the product of being under of being under light like this. When you buy these lights at any store, they don't create multiple shadows. This is a demonic environment. That's a demon in a helicopter that's focusing on me. And as I documented, that's how you prove that a police department is targeting you. But outside of proof, this is how the entity is engaging what is the corrupt system, the corrupt means of creating an illusion of mental illness where the target individual doesn't have the evidence to prove that they're being targeted by a population they would refer to as strangers, but they're not strangers. They're targeting you. They know who you are. They're with the police that I am proving are engaging in obvious targeting while they're remaining around me by helicopters day and night, where my shadow's appearing at that sign is way far away from me. It's impossible that my shadow's appearing like that. And this light, there's no explanation for that. That's what's relevant to the train activity, and that's demonic. This light activity is demonic. The pacing in the helicopter is demonic, and the sound of that train is actually supernatural. You can't hear the train at all over here. In the apartment, it's not going to sound this loud. It's demonic. This is entirely demonic activity, and the Ontario police are demons who are obviously stalking, and they're repeatedly doing so while I keep capturing video. This is what's relevant with regard to the mental health. This is what at the forefront. The Ontario Police Department is being disbanded, and they are going to be subject to mental examinations. This is directly relevant to the severe mental instability openly exhibited through their criminal engagement in the pattern of conduct and their specific acts of targeting me while I'm documenting, and they are reviewing the evidence on the internet. These demons are looking at their exposed criminal conduct of stalking me by helicopter, and they decide on an ongoing systematic basis to continuously do it. That's relevant to their mental illness as well. This is P.O.C. It's currently 11:32 p.m.